Check. Chickity check. Cha. Okay. Hey, if you like the music you're hearing behind this video, it's all from my latest album. These are the instrumental versions of these songs. Go listen to it on Spotify or something. I don't know. Bienvenidos, ni hao, and jianhua hao ma shu duo shao. My name is Pepper Coyote, and not long ago I went to China. And by not long ago, I mean probably a year ago by the time this is coming out. I'm recording this now in September, and I went last October. October 2023. It is now September 2024. Am I busy? What's happening? Am I lazy? I don't know. In current year, 2024, China is a hot button topic in the West. You're expected to pick a side on all issues as an American, and that also goes for the world's most populous country. Is China socialist? State capitalist? Curing diabetes? Or trying to take over the world? In America, you're supposed to flatten everything to good or bad. Swipe right or left. Vote now on your phones. I've been putting off making this video because I didn't know how to even begin to approach the giant pile of weird Red Scare propaganda that stands between the Western brain and reality. I was standing in China getting phone messages from people who've never left Ohio telling me how I don't know what China is really like. And here's the fun part, by the time this video is coming out, it's outdated already. China changes so rapidly that this video already is not going to reflect the current reality in the country. This is a country that went from having 57.8 thousand total kilometers of passenger train lines to 131,000 kilometers of passenger train lines in the 28 years between 1990 and 2018. In 2024, Amtrak, which is I think the only passenger rail service in the United States, it has 34.4 thousand kilometers of passenger rail total. Here's the Shanghai coast in 1990, and here it is today. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna look at my vacation photos, we're gonna go to McDonald's, we're gonna sing a song, and at no point will I try to brainwash you into being a communist. Along the way, I'm gonna give some basic tips for anyone who wants to visit China, which, not to bury the lead here, I highly recommend. Go! It's great. It was the single best tourist experience I have yet had outside of the United States, or inside of the United States. I guess I probably had more fun of a time when I was 6 going to the county fair, Crawford County Fair. Hey, boom, shout out. As an adult, I've got to travel quite a bit, and not to put down Singapore, I love Singapore, but I cannot believe how good of a time I had in China. Part 1, getting your visa. A lot of countries handle their visas in a reciprocal manner, as in whatever rules the US applies to them, they apply to the US. It's a move that first struck me as petty, but after thinking about it for 2 seconds, it's completely fair. One does not simply walk into China, because that would take a really long time and require crossing an ocean or two, depending on where you live. You're gonna need a tourist visa. Check your local rules, but this was my process as an American passport holder. Step 1, figure out what paperwork is needed. 2023 was close enough to the end of strict COVID regulations that the visa rules had changed quite recently, meaning few people were sure what the rules actually were. There is an extensive application asking about family history, employment, past addresses, and much, much more. It felt pretty similar to getting my United States passport. There's a long list of forms that you're going to have to check and double check as to whether or not you need to complete, depending on your situation. You're going to print them out, fill them out, make some copies, stay organized, consider paper clips. You will also need flight and hotel information before applying for your visa. This shows that you don't intend to overstay said visa. Hold up a second here. Step 0, book your entire trip without a visa so you can apply for your visa and go on the trip that you just spent a ton of money booking. Yeah, so you gotta figure out dates, hotel, and flights before you can even start the application process. When I was booking, flights from the United States to Shanghai were over $3,000 round trip. This is insane. We're talking about the business center of the most populous country in the world, and you can't get there from LA for under the price of a very old used car. So here's the cheat. You fly somewhere else. then you fly to China. I booked a round-trip flight to Singapore, which cost me just over $1,000. Then I booked a separate round trip from Singapore to Shanghai, which cost me about $400. Hotels. So if you're tight on money like me, you're going to be booking off of Hotels.com, some budget, no-name hotels. Here's a fun fact. Google Maps does not work. It doesn't work it doesn't work on China. Their GPS and Google's GPS just straight up don't agree with each other. So there's a skew where the overlay of Google Maps and actual China are just slightly So when you're looking at stuff, it causes some issues. This makes trying to confirm the existence of your Chinese hotel more of a matter of faith than fact. You need to believe that your hotel exists and that you aren't going to be standing on a random Shanghai street corner crying in an American accent with nowhere to sleep when you arrive. Like I just said, I booked through hotels.com and it felt bad. Like, it felt like I had been scammed by frickin' Ed, and Eddie. Like, the hotels had multiple names, vague, incomplete addresses, and every red flag was present. But here they are. If you want more peace of mind, book a Marriott or some like big chain if you can afford it. Like, you're gonna end up paying a lot more, but you're also gonna have a very nice room. All right, back to visa stuff. Step 2, actually doing your paperwork. I was gonna do a detailed breakdown of exactly what paperwork you need to get the visa, but there is no point. When I was applying, I was using a fresh set of rules that came out right as COVID travel restrictions were easing up in China. Like, Shanghai had their famous intense lockdown, and that was just ending. And I was some of the first group of tourists coming back in. So I kept having to cross-check between like the pre- and post-pandemic regulations, and while most of the details were the same, there was a relatively new online application portal I was expected to use. But then on top of that, it's expected that you print out all of this paperwork and then turn it in person at the Chinese consulate nearest you. Looking now, it seems that online options have expanded even further, and the total paperwork required has gone slightly down. As an American, you should expect to provide proof of residence, your current passport, which can't be expiring anytime soon, and to answer many, many questions about your place of residence, family, employment, and even my favorite question, is your father currently in China? That's a real question. At times, it feels like a background check, because it pretty much is. There are many forms that seem redundant and a couple of single sheets that need signed and dated, like Where You Stay form, which is my favorite name of any form. Where You Stay form. A form that tells China where you stay. Where do you stay? There's a form. Fill it out. Step 3, visit your local Chinese consulate. Technically, you don't need to apply for your visa in person, and you have the option of paying a third-party agency to do it for you. In that case, you simply mail all your paperwork, driver's license, and passport to a stranger, along with some money, and you're golden. I assume. I drove to my local consulate, which was in Los Angeles for me. I'm in Phoenix. I used this opportunity to check out the biggest city in the United States in a bit more detail. Like, Phoenix isn't that far from LA, but just far enough to be a rare trip for me. As anyone visiting LA will tell you, the poverty you will see on display is striking. As an American, I am used to seeing people sleeping on the streets, but it is like a whole nother level in Los Angeles. Richest country in the world, and nobody can afford to live here. Anyway, I booked an appointment online well in advance and timed my mini road trip, so I arrived early with plenty of time to hang out in the hallway with everybody else who got there early. The line moved pretty fast once things got started and they opened the door, but I'm glad I got there when I did. Show up an hour before they open and you'll be out of there pretty quick. Like, I think my total time, including showing up an hour early, was like an hour 25. You get in the door, they give you a number, you go to the window. The lady I talked to through the glass window thing at the visa office was funny. She seemed genuinely baffled as to why I would be going alone and without speaking any Mandarin. I remember her inch-long press-on nails clacking away at the keyboard. She seemed more focused on making sure I had the correct paperwork than grilling me on any specifics. I got a receipt and got out of there, leaving most of the day to hang out in the City of Angels, or at least one of its 10,000 suburbs. I don't want to be unfair to LA. Like, there are areas that are beautiful, but it is an undeniably hostile place to live in nearly every respect. Public transit is not fun, cheap, or convenient. Food and housing are unbelievably expensive, traffic is brutal, etc., etc. And I could be describing like any major US city here. Step 4, return 3 to 7 days later to collect your visa, or your rejection. This is where it gets real tempting just to pay a service, because you must collect your paperwork from the Chinese consulate, but not until after the 3 to 7 business day processing period, like mine took 4. And you gotta bring back that receipt that they give you, and if you don't have that, you might just be screwed. You have to like go through a whole like, please, it's me, and there's a chance they're just gonna tell you to start your application over again, and that would be heartbreaking. The good news is that I did not have to be the one picking the thing up in person. I have a friend in the area, and they graciously picked it up and mailed back my passport that now contained my Chinese visa page. Good for 10 years, too. Whew. It's funny. When you apply, they'll tell you that the visa is for 1 to 10 years. And which do you get? It's just whatever they feel like giving you. they gave me the maximum, so I don't know. Does that mean I am good? Does that mean I like cleared all the checks or whatever it is? Like, how do they determine? Was I was at a 0 suspicion level, as opposed to like if I was very suspicious, they'd be like, you get 1 year. But then that's it, mister. My diligence with my paperwork paid off. No errors, no issues. If you do have any problems, you will need to resubmit your stuff after fixing whatever you need to fix. This is yet another reason to use a visa service, since they're experienced at putting together these applications. The good news? This was the most difficult part of the entire trip. More difficult than the language barrier, Chinese customs, like the security customs, not like cultural customs, like the CPC and all that. And really, doing the paperwork isn't that hard. It's the uncertainty of not knowing exactly what forms you need and the prospect of not finding out about your errors until you're standing in an office building 6 hours from home. Google around, read as many guides and forum posts as you can, and like over-prepare. Oh, woo, woo, woo! Breaking news! Oh God! I'm reading this directly from the Chinese Embassy's website. Breaking news! Starting from January 1st, 2024, the Chinese Embassy and Consulates General in the United States simplify application documents required for tourist visa, L visa. Tourist visa applicants within the United States will no longer be required to submit round-trip air tickets, booking record, proof of hotel reservation, itinerary, or invitation letter. Since visa applications are processed on a case-by-case basis, please refer to the Chinese Embassy and Consulates General in the United States for specifics. So, that's good. So glad I went through all that stress in 2023. Part 2. Leaving for China, Singapore Part 1. Stop number 1 on my trip was Singapore. I am extremely spoiled and have had several opportunities to visit this amazing city country. Here's a whole video about it. Take a long-ass flight from Phoenix to Changi Airport, and I get a few days in sweaty paradise. I kept a little blue book of notes, journaling my experience. Let me read from it. Let me read from it and not the script in front of me, like no one will notice. Got on a plane. Short delay at PHX and SFO. Neither caused any issues. Had many beers. Plane ride always feels like a dream/nightmare. 17 hours and you're in and out of consciousness. The awful earbuds hurt, but you fall asleep with them on. Some movie you half remember. You keep checking the time. 15 hours left. 10 hours. 12, 10, 6 drank 15 White Claws. 5 hours. 6, 4. Watched Spider-Verse 2. 3 hours. 3, 2. The plane had White Claws. There's White Claws? 1 hour. 8 hours. Half an hour. Puked from the White Claws. Landing. Is an F1 race happening here? There was indeed the Singapore Grand Prix taking place the weekend I arrived. I spent a stupid amount of time sneaking around trying to get a view of the track without paying, as were many other people. I get the idea, but it was very interesting seeing literal pay walls around a race that uses so much of the city's infrastructure, like it's just on the normal streets. You think the locals would be allowed to witness the race, making things so inconvenient for everyday life. They block traffic. The whole country of Singapore is a single city, and it just uses the main streets in the busiest part of town. So like the least they could do is let you watch for a couple seconds. Come on, man! I finally found a cool and weird place to look at this. Like, look at this, the most liminal space of all time. Like, what? Is this real? It's got staircases to nowhere, a seemingly open-air hamster maze of exits, but no race cars. Now, here, I'll slap some footage of the race in here for you, just so you know it's real. You get in this funny situation where, since everything is so interconnected in Singapore, you'll just be in some random, it's a mall, but not really a mall, like an indoor thing where there's shops, but to call it a mall would be to call the entirety of indoor Singapore a mall. But there'll just be a hallway just randomly off to the side, and there's just a guy with a badge, and you just walk up like, you can't go, and like, nah, you can't go here, because it inevitably would lead you to a place where you could see the track. So they just have to have random security people just around most of the city just to stop people from walking down hallways or going down certain elevators that would open up onto the track. I mean, how else would you do it? It's what you got to do. I'm not a big motorsports fan, but it was pretty cool seeing the displays they set up for the race. Like a real tourist bonanza. Even the practice laps have a visceral like oomph to them when you're standing between the tall buildings and it's bouncing around between the walls. You can feel the engine roar and gust of wind as the vehicles fly by below. For the first time, I bit the bullet and went to the top of the boat. the Marina Bay Sands Hotel and had a $27 cocktail. Like, it was good, thanks for asking, but what I was paying for was the view. Yeah. Ooh, wow, that's so good. Nice. If I had infinite money, I might stay here. As things are, this was my hotel in Singapore. All right, I'm in Singapore. I'm at my hotel and I wanted to take you on a tour of it. So here we have the room, and that's it. That's the room. Oh, there's a bathroom. Oh, let's find out together. I haven't seen this yet. What we got? Oh, this is fine. This is kind of nice actually, except the shower is just kind of like, it's you just shower in the bath. Where's that drain? I'll find you. Oh, there it is. Oh wait, I got a window. Oh, that's what's it gonna lead to. This is not supposed to be open, but someone opened it anyway. What can we see? It's an egg. I'm getting ahead of myself. I landed in Singapore, passed out after eating some chicken and rice, then woke up early to see the new Bird Paradise, which is a zoo for birds. Here are some clips of that. I returned to the bird park. It used to be called just the Bird Park. Every time I've been to Singapore, and this is the first time that I've been able to see the upgraded Bird Paradise. It's bigger, it has more birds. When you describe it to people, it sounds boring, where it's like, what do you mean it's a zoo where there's just birds and only birds? Like, yeah, but they're cool birds.
Allison is taking out position right out there. We have a replica of the sea crane. Once it's ready, we're going to toss it into the pond, and we're going to watch it make an attempt to fly down and snatch it away on the surface of the water, right?
Okay, everyone, keep your eyes on it. Here it comes, diving down.
Wow, that was very impressive.
There's like ostriches and stuff. There's big birds, small birds, medium birds. There's birds that you can like hang out with, and you could try to pet them. They'll probably like hop away from you, but like you get the cup of juice and then they'll land on your hand and drink the juice. It's very cute. They might attack your earlobes. I love the bird park. I just need to hurry up because there is so much left to show you. It is always sweaty in Singapore. I got a thing of talcum powder, and that's my one big travel tip. Bring talcum powder. Like, buy some when you get there. Use it. Makes walking around all day much more comfortable. But I didn't come here for the race, or the talcum powder, or the birds. I came here to see some friends and prepare for the next leg of the journey. Xander and Dusty are a couple Singapore furs I'm always happy to see, so let's go find them. Dusty and I got some food, and this gave me a chance to let out all the talking I hadn't been able to do. My only regret when traveling alone is that I have no one to talk to. I'm very grateful to Dusty for absorbing a veritable wall of words from me. We got some food and had a nice long conversation. Then, have you ever looked at densely populated areas like Singapore and wondered how you would keep a band together, like logistically? Without all the space we enjoy here in the United States or elsewhere, how do you even practice like the drums? How do you get in a garage and jam out when no one has a garage? Like, it's certainly not a private garage. You use rehearsal spaces like this one. I hung out at a restaurant, said hi to a few more friends that will return later, went to a random bar and tried to get chicken wings. I succeeded, and I ended up talking to a random German guy for a couple of hours. Due to jet lag, I end up waking up very early, and to occupy my time, I go out and get some kaya toast, which I covet. All right, good morning. We're eating kaya toast, baby. We got kopi. We got this toast with coconut jam. How do you even describe the consistency of this egg? Like, it's not raw. They give you a cup of hot water that kind of cooks the eggs a little bit. I'm gonna keep this good. Have your freaking toast. Bam. It's great. Can't go wrong though. This particular toast, egg, coffee combination is my favorite on earth. There are beggars in Singapore, though not nearly to the same level as in the United States. You'll see them around the entrances to train stations selling packets of tissues, since straight up asking for money is illegal in Singapore. There is definitely some visible poverty in this city, but it's just far less common than back in the United States. For reference, it is very common for people to sleep in the alley behind my house, and Phoenix is hardly the most impoverished area of the country, and I hardly live in the most, rough area of Phoenix. Today I'm meeting people for a local fur meet, mini golf. Of course, this is Singapore, so it won't be like a big outdoor course with a sprawling parking lot. It's an escape room themed place where you're putting around household objects. in the merciful grip of air conditioning. There was also a strict time limit for each room, so you gotta move. We had a group of about 15 people, and man, I don't know how to describe it, but regardless of language and cultural barriers, a group of nerds is a group of nerds, and I am very comfortable with nerds.
Oh, nice. Okay, that's one.
It's so dark. Some of them even wore fursuits in this heat. Ah.
Yeah, one more.
The most interesting thing about the golf course itself was the variety of surfaces. It felt like playing mini golf in some strange old mansion, in a good way, which is like the whole point. You're golfing on carpet and tables and hardwood floors, and then you gotta like deal with the grooves of the hardwood floor, and the carpet has an edge and stuff. It was neat. It was obstacles in ways I had not experienced in putt golf before. To end the day, we met up with even more friends and had dim sum. Phoenix, Arizona is not the best area to try and find dim sum, but in Singapore, you're practically tripping over the stuff. This meal was nourishing in more ways than one. It gave me a chance to catch up with people I haven't seen in years, to eat food I can't find on my own continent, or at least not in my own state, and to take one last breath on this side of the China Rubicon. Surrounded by people I care about, I practiced my handful of phrases in Chinese, talked about politics, of course, talked about where we were in our respective life journeys, then headed back to the hotel to sleep one last time before taking off for the Windy City, the land of the rising sun, the land of 10,000 lakes, the Big Apple, the Pearl of the Orient, Shanghai, China. All right, I'm getting a little thirsty. Let's have, what is this? Let's have some Fanta BeetleJuice edition. Everybody gonna this long travel video brought to you by a movie that came out months ago at this point. BeetleJuice 2, is that what it's called? Oh, it's called BeetleJuice, of course. Which means that they have to make a third one now. Gotta make BeetleJuice. I mumbled it so he wouldn't appear. Tom Kenny, or wait, Billy Bob Thornton. Who plays BeetleJuice? It's the Batman guy. Michael Keaton, that's who it is. Michael Keaton, get away from me. Ah! All right, this says this is apple flavored. Just haunted apple. Oh my god, it tastes like apple and cigarettes. Is the haunted part because the apple's like rotten or no? Hold up a second. It tastes like apple and like pumpkin spice, actually. There's like nutmeg in this. It's like cinnamon apple or something. It is caffeine free and it contains no juice. There you go. That's good. This is kind of gross. Put it over ice, it might be all right. I'm keeping that in the video. Part 3, Shanghai. My visa's ready. Eyes wide, throw confetti. I'm sitting on the airplane already. No spaghetti? The flight to Shanghai was uneventful, and I hardly remember it. My mind was a blur of nervous excitement, and I didn't snap out of it until I cleared customs. A brief summary of my customs experience. First, fingerprinting. There is a big line of kiosks, and you need to go to one so it can scan your fingerprints. Like you put them on a little glass thing. You've probably done this before if you've worked, I don't know, a professional job. I freaking had to get fingerprinted to work at Applebee's. I had to go get my fingerprint card that said I hadn't attacked any children, I think actually was what that was. It's like, are you convicted of any felonies? It's like, no, fingerprints. Convicted? I'm not even accused of any felonies. All arrivals were required to do this, including Chinese nationals. My tip, don't get in the first line. Like, there were at least 40 kiosks, and the further down the hall you went, the shorter the lines. Second, health declaration. On your phone, you scan a QR code, which will become a pattern for you while you're in China, and check some boxes saying that you are healthy and not currently experiencing COVID symptoms. You do this while standing in line for step 3. Heck, this step may or may not exist if you go now. I don't know, things change. Third, customs and visa check. This was exactly like any other international arrival I've experienced. Wait in line, get called forward, ask why are you here, when do you leave, and about 20 seconds later I had my passport back in my hand, stamped. Fourth, baggage claim. Bada bing, bada boom. My Chinese customs experience was nearly identical to my experience entering Canada. So far, Belgium has been the most time consuming. Like, the only culture shock you need to prepare for are the lines, the queues if you're a Brit. You shuffle forward and do not leave space. Like, you don't leave enough space for another human, or another human will occupy that space. You don't get pushed, people aren't shoving you, but if you are not moving forward with the group, somebody's gonna slide in there. Weirdly, all this like line cutting and blah, 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 like, you still seem to end up like in the same order as when you started doing it. Like, people would kind of slide in front of me, and then 40 feet later, the line would ebb in a way that then I'm back in front of them. Let the rage leave you. You're part of the current now. Shuffle forward. I did little baby steps, because I'm a giant man and I don't want to knock anyone over, so it's just taking one like, and everyone's kind of doing that. The only break in that rule is old ladies. Chinese old ladies and old men, but I usually would see ladies. They don't give a shit. They don't fucking just bare. I got to watch. It was two Chinese elderly women walking like two abreast down the sidewalk, and like the entirety of the city of Shanghai is just patiently behind them. Like, they're not passing them. They're not shoving around anybody. They're just like, all right, we have to walk slow. There's a lady up there who's. I wish I had the confidence of an old Chinese woman. They don't blink at anything. Let's have more of this disgusting apple drink. Still in focus. Yes. Oh, I fight this thing like it wants to just autofocus every 3 seconds, do like auto ISO and shit, and it's just like the whole time you're talking, just like it's like Stop doing things. Even if it looks shitty, just leave it. All right. Picked up by furries. One of the positives of being involved in furry fandom is the potential to make friends worldwide. I've been interested in China for a few years now, and through internet poking around, I knew a couple of Chinese furries. And by knew, I mean like we had exchanged a few DMs. There's no way to know what to expect when meeting people for the first time, especially in a foreign country. I don't know the social mores, etiquette, language, or anything else. Months of watching YouTube videos and reading articles was about to collide with reality. I felt China accelerating towards me as I exited customs. Was I ready? I got my bags and made my way to the airport exit, where I was greeted by Simone. Let me give a couple of brief introductions. While I was welcomed and treated well by dozens and dozens of locals while in China, Tommy and Simone went above and beyond to make this trip what it was. They took days off from work to walk me around the city. They helped me figure out an itinerary. They helped me figure out like paying for stuff with the two required phone apps, Alipay and WeChat Pay. We did some legwork to make sure my hotel actually like existed, and so much more. I kept making the joke that they were my government-assigned tourism officers, there to make sure the American communists had a good trip. Even when they weren't with me in person, they showed unlimited patience answering my questions on WeChat, and like, I am so grateful to them and everyone else that made me feel welcome so far from home. Thank you. Simone met me at the airport and helped me find the maglev train. Yeah, it cost over $1 billion to build in 2007 money. Yeah, it's only 19 miles long. Yeah, it serves the narrow function of being the world's fastest airport shuttle, but it has a top speed of over 400 kilometers an hour. Oh, I'm sorry. It has a top speed of over 268 miles an hour. To be fair, the top speed was reduced in 2021 to a mere 186 miles per hour, but dude, it gets you from the airport to downtown in under 9 minutes. 20 miles. 9 minutes on magnets. This train opened for normal operation in 2003, and I only bring that up because, hey, the US has had 21 years since then to do something like this in major cities, and consistently chooses to instead spend that money on, like, I don't know, bigger Uber waiting areas at the airport. Like, LAX had the grand idea of, like, if you want an Uber, now you have to get on a shuttle and go over here and build a train, build a thing that goes downtown, build a thing that goes uptown. I don't care. Build something. Even Phoenix at this point has a little, it took them like 9 years to build. It's hilarious. They got like 10 feet per year to get you from the airport terminal to the admittedly like spacious and wonderful rental car complex. They have this like big old like 6-story thing of like all the rental car companies and this giant parking garage. And it's actually a cool idea. I like the thing. And it took them, you know, since I've lived here to move the air train at one stop, so you can get to your rental car. And that's for people who rent cars here, which is not me because I live here. Our beautiful, wonderful light rail it does go to the airport at least. Like you take the train, go down, you get on the platform, go up an escalator, and boom, you're indoors, you're in the airport. You get on the little sky train thing, go over. It's not that bad. It's okay. It's something. Why can't I fly into New York City and get on a fast, cheap train that gets me downtown in 9 minutes? It takes, all right, from JFK you would, let's see here. Man, I wrote this into the script as a bit, but like this is like nightmarish. To get from JFK Airport to downtown, like lower Manhattan, is you can drive for an hour. If you get on a bicycle, you can get downtown New York City just as fast from JFK Airport as if you took the train. Like this starts out as a funny bit, and then you're just left disgusted. Back to the script. Coyote car! We got off the magnet train and got picked up in a friggin' Ford with coyotes on the side. I'll tell you, nothing puts my mind at ease like climbing into an American car and peeling out on the roads of Shanghai. This was my introduction to the road system in China, and I was immediately impressed. It feels downright American, for like lack of better words. You got your elevated highway over here, you got your major collector streets, the local roads that all feed into that with like modern traffic signals. Getting through Shanghai traffic was pretty much identical to getting through Phoenix traffic. If anything, I'm surprised we didn't spend more time sitting in traffic jams considering the huge population difference. The traffic signals have timers on them, and those timers are synced up with like the local version of Google Maps. I think it's Baidu Maps. And you can see from a distance exactly how much time is left on a red light or a green light or a turn thing or whatever. So you can be like, okay, that green light has 9 seconds and I'm way the heck back here. I'm not going to make it. So you don't end up, well, I mean, if you're a criminal like me, I could see that being like, oh crap, it's only 9 seconds. Floor it. But they do have speed cameras everywhere. It's kind of like Europe. We headed for my first Chinese hotel of the trip, and while my friends were not horribly impressed by this hotel, like this was a big improvement over where I stayed in Singapore. Also much cheaper. Like I talked their ears off for a good hour or so, fighting jet lag with the urge to force a week worth of topics into one conversation. After I got settled, we headed to food. Being extremely kind hosts, this was a group meal with even more Chinese furries. Most people in the group could understand quite a bit of English, but did not speak much. So there's a balance of listening, translating, like delayed laughter, and me repeating my most frequent question: does this have peanuts in it? 我对花生过敏，有没有花生？有没有花生？没有花生。That was a lot of my time in China. Most of the Chinese that I spoke was that. 有没有 have, no have. Have, no have peanut? Like, does this or does this not have peanuts? 没有花生, not have peanut. And they'd be like, 没有花生, 没有花生. Food allergies in China. I'm allergic to peanuts, and while my allergy is relatively mild, I can be like in the presence of peanuts. I just can't have them directly go into my mouth. I was worried that I would potentially lose a day being miserable by accidentally eating some peanuts. I can proudly say I did not get peanutted a single time while I was there. There were some close calls, but here was my strategy. I made a little card to hand out while I was getting food. Here it is. Here's a picture of it. I found a translation online and sent it to Simone and Tommy, who altered it a little bit for maximum accuracy. Every food worker I interacted with took it seriously. They checked with the kitchen, and at times they would choose something else for me. They'd help me pick a different item if peanuts were present. I'm allergic to peanuts is one of the handful of phrases that I had memorized, and between my bad Mandarin and the little cards, I had a great time eating all kinds of food. Here's some of what my first Chinese food was in China. General Tso's orange chicken, crab puffs, duck sauce, egg drops. Okay. I'm messing around here. The first meal I had was Southwestern from the Yunnan province. Forgive me, but I'm not gonna know what like any of this stuff is called. There were chicken and potato dishes and a sauce that I could best describe as like curry-like. There was spicy pineapple, a whole bunch of mushrooms, which I really like, and a kind of like deconstructed snow cone where it's shaved ice and berries, along with sweet rice cakes and some kind of like syrup on there. Tons of pepper and garlic all around. And I'm sad I only got like one photo of this meal because it was incredible. I was trying to talk more than take pictures of my food, but I wanted at least one. The biggest bummer about the new food I experienced in China is that I don't know what to call most of it. I ate tons of stuff, and they told me the names of it, but I'm not used to hearing the words, so they didn't stick in my brain very well, and I didn't write a lot of them down. And the more fun part is you'd ask, it's like asking me what like an eclair is I immediately, oh yeah, eclair, got it. Like pastry, chocolate on the top, cream fill, I know what that is. There were other times you'd ask them, hey, what is this? And they'd have to go like, what even would you call this in English? Or what even is the actual name of this? Oh, I call it this. Oh, I would call it this. I call it this. And so like, there's so much food and such a rich culinary existence, history, culture that like, there's only so much you're gonna get in one run through. And then like the few names that I do remember don't mean a lot outside of China. Like, I love gailan, but when I go to the Asian grocery store, do I ask for gailan, kailan, kielan, jilan, Chinese broccoli, Chinese kale, or as the Singaporeans would call it, veg? China has a rich food culture, like I just said, and going there as a fan of yummy things with zero experience is like being illiterate in the Library of Congress, like listening to a symphony having never seen a musical instrument, like giving your mom the controller and asking her to play Counter-Strike. I'm a baby let loose in a candy store, and I don't know what I'm shoving in my mouth, but I like it, and I want more. Another! I was considering slamming this BeetleJuice on the ground, but that would have been a smelly disaster. Is this an apple? It's like apple with a foot. Oh, it's green too, I just noticed. After food, we took part in the most favorite of Shanghai pastimes, walking along the river. Many US cities have river walks and waterfronts, but I'll tell you, it hits different when you aren't being hassled for money every 4/7. It sounds like I'm shitting on poor people, but it's like, I'm shitting on the fact that America won't take care of it. Like, we have so many resources. We have more resources than any other country in the history of the world. So, like, pretending it's impossible is just that, it's pretending. There's a distinct plant smell in Shanghai that I can only compare to skunk cabbage. Have you ever heard of that? Here in the United States, totally landscaped areas emit a very mild skunk smell, which makes complete sense when you zoom out and realize that Shanghai is built on a river delta, aka a swamp. It's like New Orleans or something. It's very, very wet. I was continually impressed by the landscaping and integration of plant life into the dense metropolis. Walking along the river that first night, I thought I was in some unique place, but little did I know that the entire city is dotted with, quote, green space. You can't go more than a few blocks without running into the most beautiful public park you've ever seen. And then you see the next one and it's even more beautiful. There are a lot of American franchises that have expanded into China, and while a lot of them make some kind of sense, like McDonald's, Pizza Hut, etc., some are baffling. Like, why does Habit Burger exist in Shanghai? I don't even go there in the United States, and it's not like they're horrible or anything, but if I was asked to make a short list of what food had made its way into China, Habit Burger would not be on it. Five Guys makes a little sense, but why ninth-rate Five Guys? Why, like, Smash Burger B-sides? Even Smash Burger would be like, all right, fine, I guess, why? But after a lovely evening walk along the river, it was time to meet up with Tommy, who was singing AC/DC with their band. Tommy helped me in yet another way by picking up a travel guitar. I still got this bad boy, and I use it relatively frequently, especially when traveling internationally. Here it is, man. Look how tiny it is. Like, this is it. That's the whole thing. Beep. Little ha. You can basically think of it like an electric guitar. The tuning machines are down here on the bottom, and the only downside is that it's basically impossible to actually grab these cylinders and twist them. I would suggest they should make them square or something. But it comes with this little Allen key, and it sticks in the end, and boop, and there you go. You can tune to your heart's content, and it goes back in the bop. Haha, clicks down there. It's magnetic. It's very neat. In Shanghai, I feel safe. I don't know if that can be heard at all. I like this thing. And in case you wonder, it's a full-size guitar. The string length is the same as any standard 6-string. Like, my acoustic has the same length of strings, so the notes are all the same. It doesn't like sound higher pitched, it's not like ukulele sounding or anything. When you plug it in, you can barely tell the difference. I'm gonna distract myself now. It was quite a trip sitting in a basement listening to people practice AC/DC. I couldn't stop thinking just how much this was like being back home in the United States. Like, they're just like us for real. After this, it was time to sleep. Back to the hotel, cruising around unsupervised. My first full day in China, I had some goals. I needed to wash my clothes, and I needed a haircut. The good and unexpected news is that my hotel room contains the smallest washing machine I've ever seen in my life. It just needs detergent. I'm also trying to pace myself at this point because I have a lot of walking ahead of me. Also a lot of biking, but I didn't know that quite yet. Right next to my hotel is a Lawson's, and that convenience store sells a little bit of everything, including detergent. So I grabbed the smallest bag they have, and I set about translating the buttons on this little guy. I ended up looking up what model it was to see if I could find a translated user guide online, which I did eventually, even though using my photo translate thing is what actually succeeded in getting the thing to work. It says it holds up to either 6 shirts or 20 socks or 2 pairs of jeans. Like, it was small like a 3-liter capacity washing machine, but that was exactly what I needed. I had time to run it a couple of times, and that's all my clothes I brought with me. The haircut was a minor adventure. The one thing I struggled with in China was maps. Google Maps just isn't an option in China, but Apple Maps is. At least it was when I'm there. Like, there's always the possibility that if Apple won't freaking follow the rules, they're gonna get booted just like Google did. Just like Huawei was from America when they wouldn't do what America wanted. Isn't it weird how, it's not actually that crazy for expectations to be put on a company in order for them to operate within your country and suck money out of you? The issue is that English Apple Maps in China isn't quite user-friendly. Like, if you know the exact address of where you need to go, no problem. The issue is when you use maps like I do by just searching generic categories like barber, you'll get some results, but not complete results. If you translate that search, like if you translate barber into Chinese for barber, you're going to get some more results, but it becomes less clear as to whether or not you're like looking at what you actually mean, because then all the results are going to be fully in Chinese, and for me, that's not. It's not big. I don't know enough Chinese yet for this to be helpful to me. If I search up barber, I might accidentally head towards like Barber's Pizza Shop or something, or Jim Barber, attorney at law. So I get on the train and I start exploring. The first place I try is very obviously under construction, not open. Second place I try has a single barber, and they're trying to explain to me both that they are fully booked and that like they don't do facial hair, they don't do beards, without speaking any English, and me without speaking any Chinese. I got pretty lucky in that the guy sitting in the chair at the time spoke fluent English, so he just goes like, "Hey, I can translate if you guys need," and I'm just like, "Oh my god, thank you, that's wow, what a coincidence." He's like, he's telling you that he's full and he doesn't do beards. Like, thank you very much, very sorry. I almost forgot about breakfast, by the way. I stopped at a random place for a couple bao and some warm, fresh soy milk. I used my trusty "no peanuts please" card. This got a chuckle from the lady working there, as if to say, no, there aren't any peanuts in beef bao or soy milk. It nourished my soul to some degree. I'm not a big soy milk person, but when it's fresh and warm, something magical about it. The third place I tried, after a few more stops on the train, was perfect. It was called Homie Barbershop and was clearly like American themed, if that makes sense. They took me from this to this. I was pretty happy. While I was getting the haircut, other dudes that worked there kept coming over and observing. Like, not even staring like at me, just like watching it, like, just behind, like, okay, just watching them cut hair, okay, in the back. Sometimes silent, sometimes asking questions, giving advice, all in Chinese, of course. I got the impression that my hair type and like beardness weren't horribly common, but you could never tell from the results. This haircut was very expensive by local standards, but for me, $40 US is about as cheap as it gets, and that's usually just the haircut part. So, and remember, this is in the middle of one of the biggest cities in the world. This is like if I'm in freaking Times Square, not quite, but if I'm like 2 miles from Times Square and I'm getting a haircut for $40, freaking $400 haircuts, which I'm getting in New York. Grumbling, grumble. I got some McDonald's and sushi from the train station closest to my hotel and returned to my room to finish up laundry and do a classic food review. I should probably have better audio than what's coming out of this camera, shouldn't I? God, that freaking buzzing is gonna make it impossible. And that's why you bring all your junk when you go to China. Okay, now we're good. What's up? it's me, your boy, Pepper Coyote, and I am interrupting this travel vlog for a classic food review. I am here in Shanghai. I'm in my hotel room right now, which is the nicest hotel room I've been. These are not real brick. They're a soft cushion that coats and hugs the lovely wall of this room, probably to keep my big dumb voice from reverberating into the rooms of the other guests. Also, some of the, I seem to be on the same floor as people who are like straight up live here, and then other rooms seem to be hotel rooms. So I don't want to be too much of a jerk. All right, I got some food. All right, I want to start out with my favorite thing that Asia does, which is the like drink in a bag. They don't go quite as far as like, sometimes it's literally just a little hoop for your drink, made of plastic with the handle. Walk around, hold it. It's better than keeping your hand on the thing. It's nice. I gotta know why I like this so much. I like it a lot. It's a cup of Coke. That's right. We went to capitalism. We went to McDonald's. In China, they don't have freedom. They don't have freedom fries in China. Anyway, went to McDonald's. You don't get a straw. It's just like San Francisco. You get a little sip cup, and I don't hate the sip cup. I kind of like their design. The only reason I ever want a straw in the first place is if there's ice. I don't want the ice clicky clacking on my teeth. This gives you a nice nip, a nice Coke titty to suckle. And of course, I got the McDonald's itself. We'll get to that in a minute here. The McDonald's is this is the teaser to make you stay tuned for the whole video. Keep looking at the voice recorder. What sense does that make? All right, what else we got? Like, what is this? Oh yeah, I kept some receipts too. You're gonna have to do some conversion. Maybe I'll throw up the numbers here if I'm like a non-lazy editor. I got some sushi. That's right, move over, Japan. Now other places have sushi. Have you ever seen sushi outside of Japan? This is at a stall in the train station where I found you get all the best food in Asia. Well, I shouldn't say the best. You get consistently good food. Like if you're just like, crap, I need food. I need a food court that actually has things that are appetizing. Go to the train station. Go to your nearest train station. I walked around a corner in this train station that I've been through like 3 or 4 times now. Because I was going to the McDonald's and I peeked around, I'm like, oh wait, there's other stuff here. Then I looked slightly to my left and I see a giant sign that says food court in English. So what do we got here? We got salmon and I got some shrimp with some roe and mayonnaise on it. Look at that. I have no idea if you can see this. I'm not gonna check later either, so enjoy or don't. This will be an audio only descriptive situation. I was gonna be offended, but they did not try to give me a fork. I've been watching anime for several decades. I know how to use chopsticks. You gotta have faith in me. Ignore the vanilla face. I make these jokes. I have not in any way been treated differently in the 1.5 days that I've been in Shanghai. I don't even get looked at. I've had like one person look at me and they were visibly also tourists. It's Shanghai. It's like if you were in New York City and you saw like, I don't know, an Indian guy, you would be like, whoa! If you live in a humongous city like Shanghai, you see most of the types of people. I think I would have to be literally blue or purple to get any kind of double take in this metropolitan area. So what do I got? I got a packet of wasabi. Oh, disappointing. The soy sauce is in the crappy limp packets. Ugh. You know what? I'm just going direct on this. It's just going on there. It's just like a strong one. It's very bright green. Whoa. Let's get a little oh, that was a little too much. Okay. I'll get a little packet holder at least. That's not what that's for. It does not fit. All right, you're just going there. Let's hit the salmon, because I have a very good idea as to what salmon's supposed to taste like at this point in my life. Ooh, that wasabi is, that is stronger than, maybe I haven't had wasabi in a while. Freaking eyes are watering. You saw how tiny of a little blop I put on there? I usually eat more than that. Are they giving us, like, watered down wasabi in the States? Are they cutting it with potato? They put some potato in there? Shouldn't be time. Oh. So this whole plate here was 50 RMB, which stands for rub my balls. 50 RMB, and when I'm here, the exchange rate changes all the time. It's about 7 RMB for $1, so it's gonna be a heck of a lot less than 10. And you have to keep in mind, I'm in Shanghai. Imagine I was getting this in Manhattan. Imagine I was getting this in frickin' downtown Chicago or LA. This would cost $20. Seven-ish bucks. It's pretty good. tastes totally fine. It's not blowing my mind or anything, but this is salmon. This is shrimp from a train station, pre-made, waiting for me. Yeah. Coming up next, what do we got? Coke nipple. By the way, right before this, I was in Singapore, and much like in the UK and a few other countries, they've done a sugar tax thing, which has resulted in all soda being partially diet or full diet to get around the sugar tax, because they hit so that they can keep the prices the same. I personally am like, charge me 5 more cents. I don't care. I don't like diet. China? Nope. Regular Coke. I've had a Pepsi earlier. Regular Pepsi, not a hint of aspartame in it. Kiss my aspartame is what I say. Let's bounce on into this. French fries. Oh my goodness. Look at them. They look identical to the U.S. French fries. They taste a little cold, so identical to the U.S. fries. I just took too long getting up here. They came out hot. Oh. What else? Oh, yeah. Oh, and then the big boy. The thing I am freaking excited about. Oh, I got 1 ketchup packet. Ooh, baby. Fries are not very salty. Ah! Ah, there it is. I got a spicy cheddar flavored double cheeseburger. So it has the flavor of spicy cheddar without containing spicy cheddar. I wonder if this is the same as what I had in Brazil. This cheese is the same color. I know it's going to be, like, the color grade in this isn't going to be perfect, but it is very dark orange. Like, oh my goodness, an even darker, well, a slightly less dark orange, actually. Oh, let's distribute these pickles. It's just like the U.S. Pickles always come directly on top of each other. I want a little pickle in every bite. I've been through the training. I know how they're supposed to make it. Tiny bit of onion. That's it. That's the whole sandwich. We got double cheese, double burger. How's the burger itself taste? Like the meat. Damn, that is just exactly like what it tastes like in America. I don't think there's peanuts in this. That would suck. I'm allergic to peanuts, if you didn't know. I'm kind of judging the spiciness of this as I go. I can tell the spice is there. You know, I just realized that cheese tastes exactly the same. They just put different or more or less or whatever food coloring in it, and it's a darker orange, but that is just... I swear that's just the McDonald's American cheese. The spicy sauce is nice. It's thick. I don't know if it's supposed to be cheesy or if it's just a color that I think of cheese when I see it, because it's that nice dark orange. But... yeah, this is great. This is like, it's just a double cheeseburger with some sauce slapped on top of it, and a little bit less onion, a little bit less diced onion. It's still present though. You know what we gotta wash that down with? Some Super X. I'm pretty sure this is beer. It was next to like the Tsingtao. It was next to like the Tsingtao and Carlsberg and beers. It was next to the beers. It was in the same line as the beers, and on the back, the only things in English it says are Super X and snowbeer.com.cn. So go there, hashtag not sponsored. There's a QR code on it, of course. All right, hold up. I have one other beer. I want to see if it also is freaking 3% alcohol. Maybe I'm just a fool and these are like sports beers instead of sports drinks. Like, you know what? I need a beer for when I'm climbing a mountain. Oh, this has 3% alcohol. What the? Come on, man. Come on, China. All right, without further ado. Oh, this has a weird opener. I don't know if you can see that. It's like a little different than our pull tabs, and I haven't seen this yet. All the others have been pretty normal. Ooh. This is like an old school. You pull it off. What the heck? Oh, don't cut myself. Winner. Hey. There. These fries are getting disgusting. Well, it doesn't taste like more than 3%. Yeah, I think I got like beers for active people where it's not going to be very boozy. That's on me. Okay, the thing I've been teasing and didn't talk about. My favorite, like, sweet treat that I only see in South Asia. Well, I guess just Asia now. I'm just in East Asia. Oh. There it is. This is taro Taro is like a purple sweet potato. Of course, it's potato, so of course I love it. I love all potatoes. I cannot discriminate. Taro pie. Put this in my mouth. Hope they don't add peanut to the pies in China. I haven't gotten peanutted yet, but I've only been here for like a day. That's freaking... Look at that, baby. Boy, that sure is that sure is taro in a pie. So, oh, and I kind of lied earlier. Taro and ube are both tied for my heart's affection. Both are purple sweet potato-y things. Taro is more like a root, actually, I guess. Like when you see them, there's big freaking things. They're very light purple. Then you get ube, which is this rich, creamy. I love that. It's a very, very good shade of purple. That's like a Prince purple. Minnesota purple. Well, this has been another classic food review. Thanks for hanging out, and stay, please stay. There's something about Shanghai that hit me. It's like an urban center that never ends. It's like downtown if downtown continued indefinitely in all directions. Oh look, a skyscraper. Is this some significant financial building? Nah, it's just one of hundreds that could be residential, commercial, or in most cases, a mix of both. There has been such effort put towards beautification, and as an outsider, I appreciate it heavily. Everywhere you turn, you'll see a little LED light show on the side of a towering structure, usually right next to a park, beside the train station. In one spot, you'll see lush flora, 55 stories of shopping and apartments, a train station, and a group of old ladies dancing. Copy-paste that 1,000 times over, and you have a Tier 1 or Tier 2 Chinese city. Look at this. You have to my left here this park that's full of people actually doing stuff. Everybody's on bikes, everybody's on electric scooters. Look over here, people are dancing. People just like out doing stuff. It's both bustling city and you feel entirely safe the whole time. I'm not from here. I can't even talk to anybody in a very literal sense. I don't feel... The only danger I feel is from the scooters that go whipping in between your legs. They have no regard for anybody. They're also the only ones, I think, who are allowed to beep, as I understand from talking to some friends here. What don't you see? People sleeping on the street. Like, I'm gonna become a broken record with this point, but it bears repeating. It is incredible to me, as an American, to walk around a major population center and not be walking past people huddled up in alleyways. In the US, housing costs keep rising, food prices keep going up, and the result is that people who used to live in homes can't afford it anymore, so they sleep on the street outside of those homes. It's not their fault. I have many friends and family members that lived either on the street or out of their car for a period of time. Around half of homeless people have jobs in America. And I can see the comments already. Well, XY country has homelessness, they just hide them away. I heard this about Japan, Singapore, and pretty much any other country, and my reply is always the same. Hide them where? Indoors? I'm living in the richest country the earth has ever known, and your best prospect if you end up losing your housing is to get thrown in jail, where on one hand, you might be forced to work for free, but on the other hand, you have a roof over your head and some rotten food to look at. I'm sorry, it's heartbreaking. The gangsters that run my country have spent more on bombs in the last 2 years than it would cost to eliminate homelessness 3 times over, and it makes me sick. Dictatorship of the proletariat cannot come fast enough. Time for communism.
It's time to break. Don't want you thinking you made a mistake by clicking on this video. It's time to stop, get up and grab a pop, because baby, I've been talking too long. At break it up with a song.
New day, new parts of town to explore. The mission is to see the site of the First National Congress of the Communist Party of China. Catchy name, right? Then I wanted to find the Shanghai Urban Planning Exhibition Center. Riveting, I know. This trip is getting sexy. Hoo-hoo. I walk out of my hotel at 9 a.m. and face the most difficult challenge to crossing the street. The veritable wall of bikes and scooters that must be penetrated. After a fun ride that included spotting a Tim Hortons? There is no rhyme or reason to what chains end up here. After passing Timmy's and quickly singing the Canadian national anthem, I made my way to this attractive little building. This is the spot where on July 23, 1921, 13 gigachads, including Mao Zedong, got together with the radical idea of, hey, what if China was run by Chinese people rather than a bunch of warlords and foreign interests? And hey, less than 30 years later, the People's Republic of China was born on October 1st, 1949. Visiting the site of the First National Congress of the Communist Party of China has a similar vibe to visiting like Independence Hall in Philadelphia. Part history, part propaganda, part museum, part monument. It's a key part of the nation's history, and it's hard not to approach it with reverence, even though I couldn't read most of the signage or understand the audio playing lightly over the speakers. Entering the building was a little fun. I approached what I correctly assumed was the entrance, since it had a little like rope maze thing and a security scanner for your bags. I stuck my backpack in there, and when it came out the other side, the security person picked it up, said something in Chinese, and when it was clear I didn't understand, they opened my bag, pulled out a little bottle of water and a bottle of tea. And I said, oh, yeah, sorry, and I gestured like, you can throw that out, I forgot about it. And they think for a second and then say, water is okay. And they put the water back in my bag and put my tea in like a plastic bin thing. Oh no, it's not even tea, it's like a, not energy drink, like Gatorade, sports drink, I guess you would call it. And then it wasn't until I was leaving that I realized, oh, I can have it back. Huh. Like, I'm so used to American security where if you have a thing you're not supposed to have, they just either destroy it immediately or like it just disappears. You're not getting it back. If you bring a pocket knife or a lighter or a bottle of Coke that you're not supposed to have, that's getting chucked. In China, you get your drink back when you leave, which makes so much sense that I'm now like retroactively mad about every Coca-Cola that's been confiscated from me at a concert. So I get inside and immediately am hit with displays honoring Marx and Lenin, and baby, I don't know how to feel. Let me read from my journal again, and keep in mind that I use propaganda as a neutral term. The side of the first CPC Congress was emotional. Yes, there's propaganda, they're playing manipulative music, yeah, it looks a lot like a US war memorial. And while I maintain respect for American soldiers who put their lives on the line, I don't respect the causes of US imperial wars or the owning class gangsters that push them. These Chinese were dying to repel invaders and raise the standard of living, and the results speak for themselves. Look at this place. Is it all an elaborate ruse to make the CPC look good? Well, it's working. This next section I might cut out because it just gets like too much of a bummer, and people might, I don't know, I'm like overly worried about what people will think about this section because it's going to be in the middle of a 9-hour video, so people won't even freaking look at it. But I have no problem criticizing governments, political movements, countries, whatever. Like, there is no magical place. There is no perfect, beautiful, clean revolution. Like, when you hear enough bad faith criticism of China's past, present, and future, the message starts boiling down to wishing that Mao's revolution had failed or never happened in the first place. And looking at the data, that's a position I cannot understand. Before 1949, the average life expectancy in China hovered around 30. From 1950 to 2020, that number rose to 76. In 2020, the US was at 78, and that number has been trending downward. It is very difficult to argue substantially that the Chinese Revolution that had its roots right here in this little building in 1921 has not resulted in a vastly improved quality of life for the Chinese people. Maybe I'm thinking too hard about this, but like the American Civil War. We could talk endlessly about the mistakes made, about what Abraham Lincoln did or did not do. But at the end of the day, I'm glad it was fought, and I'm glad the Union won. I'm glad that chattel slavery ended. It was a necessary step that had to be taken, and a war that was worth fighting. I can't say the same about the USA's more recent century spent running around stealing resources and overthrowing democratically elected governments. But that's not what you're told to fear. You're supposed to be afraid of the spooky, scary communists. where it's like, spooky, scary communists bring groceries to your wife. Spooky, scary communists extend your length of life. Actually, I might leave that in. I thought that was a worse paragraph than it was. I kind of like it. All right, welcome back, everybody. You skipped that section. Let's talk about the Shanghai Urban Planning Exhibition Center. Do you know what Shanghai looked like just a few years ago? Yeah, it looked like this. And in 2024, it looks like this. For comparison, here's Phoenix's skyline over time. China has been developing at an amazing pace, and the more you look at individual metrics, the more annoyed you get at America, like at least if you're me. For instance, the Shanghai Metro went from 1 line in 1993 to 20 lines by today. Heck, by the time this is coming out, there's probably going to be more lines than that. The New York City subway system covers about 250 miles. The Shanghai Metro more than 500 miles. The NYC subway opened over 100 years ago. Why do I live in the 6th biggest US city that once growing rapidly, yet in my 10 years of living here, our single line of light rail has added 3 entire miles of service? Look at this map. Oh cool, by 2040 they will have completed a study as to whether or not they should build more stops. Dude, all that to say, it makes sense for Shanghai to have a museum of urban planning and development because they've been doing a lot of it. This place was far more interesting than the name may suggest. If you like dioramas, I have good news for you. You can see tiny recreations of each phase of Shanghai's development and get an idea for just how much consideration is taken when it comes to things like parks, transit, local ecology, etc. Each floor of the building is dedicated to a different aspect, with sections called an innovative city, an ecological city, with the final section being a look towards the future. China keeps calling shots and making them, so I'm sure Shanghai in 2050 is going to be incredible. There were a lot of screens with Chinese text, but most of them had this handy little EN triangle in the corner to swap to English. Hooray! If you have any interest in city planning, I highly recommend. Some funny or interesting things. There was a gift shop outside of the site of the First National Congress of the Communist Party of China. I unwittingly took the display models of the stuff I wanted to buy up to the counter, and the lady there was very patient with me. The nearby mall had a brunch place with cucumbers sunny side up on the menu, cute fox statues, weed monkey NFT spotted, toilet seat cleaner. I approve. The extreme bluntness of the translations was fun, like State Council approval of the Shanghai Master Plan, or Shanghai striving for the excellent global city. Black pink chicken, which I did not get a chance to try. Subway art with cats. There's this huge building, the Shanghai World Financial Center, and the locals call it the bottle opener. There's even a little statue nearby making the same reference. After a succulent Chinese meal of sushi and Kirin Ichiban, I wasn't sure what to do. It was only 2 p.m. or so, and I had more sights to see. What's that big tower called? The one with the with the balls? The Oriental Pearl Radio and Television Tower. Time to hop on a train and check it out. I wonder if I can go up it. I'm doing a video so I get the whole thing in there. It's so deep. It looks like a kind of a big structure on the internet, but then you're next to it in person, you're like, man, boy, she thick. I did have loose plans for this trip, but the plans were exactly that. Loose. It helps that I was doing these activities in the middle of a workday, but looking back, I'm surprised at just how much stuff I was able to show up to and just do the same day without any advanced planning. Oh look, a cool tower. Can I go up? Buy a ticket. Sure. Pictures don't do this thing justice. It's so big, and the supports are so thick. I love an antique building, and while the bottle opener and the Shanghai towers are bigger, they aren't as memorable. Does your tower have a bunch of mascots? Does your tower have an arcade on the middle floor? Does your tower have a glass-floored atrium thing? I mean, yeah, it probably does, but it's cool. It was a good feeling to be surrounded by other tourists, watching this cross-cultural reaction of giddiness as you look down through the floor. So I followed the signs that said transparent observatory, and I'm like, oh, come on, the other one was pretty transparent. There were glass windows. No, they mean outdoor, technically. Well, literally, technically. Here you go. And then they got one of these. So everybody ready? Everybody nice and afraid of heights? Here we go. Oh my god. I don't like it. I know the glass is rated for thousands of pounds, but my monkey brain still sets off the alarms, and my stomach still fills with butterflies as I step out over the abyss. The vibes were good, my dudes. Everyone was having fun. I played some taiko drum master, then descended back to street level. One of my favorite structures to come across on this trip were these elevated pedestrian ring things. In areas with lots of tourists and photo ops, there would sometimes be these circles above and around the intersection which served the dual purpose of getting you away from traffic and being a wonderful area for selfies and sightseeing. You don't have to worry about zoning out and blocking an intersection while you're trying to get a good picture of the sunset, because you're in a zone made specifically for that. A lot of nice places to just hang out for a minute or two.
I just realized that this ring is not only cool and like neat and nice to have as a tourist, it also keeps us out of traffic. Like all these weirdo tourists like me who want to be taking selfies and shit. Like it keeps you off of like, see what I'm saying? Like this is gonna be one of the most populated tourist areas in downtown Shanghai. And hey, we all get to stand, take as many selfies as we want. We're not in the middle of traffic. We're not getting hit by cars, buses. They're all doing the ring dance.
I walked a short distance to the riverfront and gathered my nerves. I was about to try out the share bikes. I've biked in American cities before, and I was pretty confident with my ability to follow the flow of bike traffic. Plus, I had to travel around a mile to get to the train station I needed, so F it. Why not try the bikes? Best decision of the trip. From then on, I was constantly on the lookout for excuses to get on one of these bikes. The fact that every transaction in China is tied to the two payment apps, like Alipay and WeChat Pay, it seems weird. Like you're about to get scammed. It feels like you're going to be scanning QR codes and unscrupulous businesses will be throwing around false charges or overcharging or otherwise taking advantage of you. But my experience was the opposite. You see, Alipay has a translate button on it, so ordering food, unlocking bikes, and otherwise accessing services became much more transparent. Before buying anything, I had item names and descriptions in English and the prices clearly listed. Heck, getting on one of the bikes was a matter of fiddling with the Alipay app for a bit, using the little icon of a bicycle and pointing my phone at a QR code. After a few more taps, I hear the click of the lock disengaging. The bike plays a happy little beep-boop jingle, and I'm on my way.
Welcome back to Pimp My Ride. This is Pepper Coyote. I have here an Alipay Alibaba share rental bike. It is I have the seat cranked up as high as it goes. It's still not big enough. My knees just barely make enough for it. It has no gears. This thing is a bell. Very funny, but also very necessary because nobody gets out of your way. I highly recommend. This is like the most fun I've had in quite a while.
One thing to be aware of. There were two different bike colors which corresponded with the two different apps. I could never get my WeChat Pay to work properly on the whole trip, so I could never use the yellow bikes, only the blue Alipay bikes. This became frustrating a couple times when I ended up standing next to this giant line of yellow bikes. I'm like, is there any? Nobody? Come on. Just looking for a blue one. Eventually, I got a little deeper into the app and found a map function that would point out bike locations, and you could even reserve one from a distance. Like, boop, reserve, so nobody could grab the bike in the amount of time it took you to walk to it. The bikes have designated parking zones, and the app won't let you end your ride outside of one. This does a lot to prevent people from leaving them just strewn all over the city. The Bund. So this part of the river has a lot of history, and to reduce it to just a couple of sentences, there used to be a British side and a Chinese side of the river, with the British side being much more developed. Now the inverse is true, with the Chinese side having the famous skyscrapers and the British side maintaining its older colonial architecture. The British side is the equivalent of Times Square with very dense walking traffic and tons of pricey shops. I ended up in a tiny cocktail lounge talking to Andy. A few times during my trip, when I'd enter a restaurant or bar, I would end up with a designated English-speaking friend. I don't know if this is the job they were hired for, or if it's just the employee that happens to speak the most English, or if they're just curious, but it was some damn fine customer service. Here it was Andy, and Andy helped me order, chit-chatted with me, and by the time I left, he'd put my music on over the bar's sound system, and he even gave me a complimentary shot of Baijiu.
So they put my music on at this bar.
This was a relatively fancy bar, and the drinks weren't cheap. Obviously, there's the basic incentive of, if we're nice to people, they'll buy more drinks. But it was unexpected, and frankly, it was nice. Dozens of different people over the course of this trip showed me a large amount of kindness and patience. Made me feel welcome. Andy turned a good day into a great one, and I haven't even gotten to Taco Bell yet. Some more interesting tidbits. Taco Bell serves beer in China. It was also right next to another Tim Hortons. I like this traffic guy. He stands on a platform like a lifeguard to detect any funny business. And oh look, it's time for another classic food review. Alright. Oh shiz, I need sound again. Such an idiot. Alright. We'll cut to the part where I have the sound up that's better. Oh, we're missing one guest to this party. Who is it? Who is invited? Is it the small amount of water hanging out in the fridge door? No. It's our good friend, Mr. Tsing Tao. They'll be guest starring today's program. I'm back with another classic food review, but as you may have already guessed, I am tired. I have been running around Shanghai all damn day. I went to the Bund. I rode a bike. I rode a bike in with Shanghai traffic for like 5 seconds, but still I did it all by myself. I feel very proud of that. Just rode a bike for a few hundred meters in actual Shanghai traffic, actually on the street, and I feel like I should have unlocked some kind of actual real life achievement. This bike ride, which was several miles up the Bund and a couple of miles on the street, cost 3.5 yuan. It is currently 7 yuan for $1 US. This camera is just like visibly tilted. Should I fix that? Let's fix it. That's better. Is it better? Is that better? It looks less tilted. I don't know. Let's hear it for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who is going to make no sense when this video comes out. They beat the Browns today, which in 2023 is impressive. So anyway, I went to Taco Bell, and I did not know that in China, the Taco Bell mascot is LeBron James. What did I get? Well, this is Pepsi. Got 2 Pepsi. Pepsi. Tsing Tao is going to be stealing a little bit of their thunder today, but look, again, they wrap up your cups in these cute little bags, and I've only seen this in Asia. Comment below if they're doing this in Europe somewhere, or Mexico, I don't know. They don't do it in the US, and they should start. Fun times. While going into the Taco Bell, I wanted to go to Taco Bell because, you know, I went to McDonald's. Now I've gone to Taco Bell. I've gone to the American meme restaurants where the only fast food I eat with any regularity is Taco Bell. I eat Taco Bell all the freaking time. Why? Because it's like the only place left that still has a $1 menu with something on it that's $1. Yes, it's a cheese roll-up, but for like $2 you can still get something. Where at McDonald's they don't have anything that's... Where I live, the hot and spicy, the cheapest thing on the menu, is $2.99. Yes, you can buy one, get one for $1, but that's still $4 for 2 hot and spicies. It should be like $1 for 50 of them. They should be paying me to eat them. But we've went and gone to Taco Bell. So you'll see that I'm pulling out all these plastic gloves. Why? Well, in China, you see, when they eat the spicy food, they like to put on the glove. Eat the messy food. You put on the glove, so then you can make lots of noise into the microphone. Oh, I've already ripped this. My Miguoren hand has destroyed. We're not using the glove. As an American, I don't believe in safety. It gave me like 20 pairs of gloves. This is a meal for 2. When I was ordering my food, I was like, I want the combo. I want that combo. I cannot read Mandarin. And the menu down here, the a la carte menu that they had in the front of the establishment, and it had English on it. The combo menu, like the actual menu that people will be ordering off of, behind the people running the place, was in Chinese only. Also, for some reason, all of my stuff I've got to work except for the QR code ordering stuff. I can QR code pay. But like VPN, no VPN, QR codes just seem to not work. I've gone to like 3 or 4 different restaurants now and I have the same problem every time. I just show my phone like it, and then they pull over their iPad that they actually order stuff through, and you can tell they never have to use it because they're looking at like, where? Anyway, I got this meal for 2, which means it comes with 6 tacos. Tacos? Taco is a strong word. No receipt. Nothing for me to like read off. That's fine. So there's gonna be like 6 items. Oh, they're packed kind of beautifully. Let me see if I can like show this. Like, oh, they're packed in neat little taco rows. I'll pull out the taco rows. No, it won't work. Can I like destroy the pack?
packaging. Okay. Oh man, they actually give you vegetables. So this cost me like the equivalent of like $11. This one looks like that too. I'm just not gonna rip it apart. I told them to give me like 6 different ones because that's what this comes with, and I think some of these are different. Some of these, this is definitely, that's a fried chicken looking thing. What we got here? I'm gonna take like 1 bite of each on camera. I'm gonna eat the rest without you. I left off my anecdote. Walking in there, it doesn't just say Taco Bell. It says Taco Bell like bar and grill, like bar and grill. It's just like Taco Bell and bar. And you walk in and yeah, there's just like 50 Coronas in a display case. I had like Bombay Sapphire and like cocktail stuff behind the counter. I walked by it laughing. I intended to go there the whole time. But as I was walking by it, I like stepped out of the way because I wanted to take a picture, and I see passing me are some honkies, which I like did a double take because like people walk by me like, yeah, what? Like, is that a guy with red hair who's even fatter than me? And it was. I went in Taco Bell, and then who walks in behind me? Them. They like had done thing. Oh, we should go to Taco Bell. Came back. The lady next to me is looking, and she's like, hey, have you like, can you pay through? She starts asking QR code payment things, and I actually knew the answer. What I'm pretty sure, I didn't ask, but I think the situation was she was Chinese speaking. I don't think local because she hadn't figured out the payment stuff, but Chinese speaking tour guide, and the other 2 were here, I found out later, on a business trip. So I look over and like, oh, Miguel Ren, and she laughs, oh yeah, they're American. And I was like, hey, where are you from? And they said, I'm from Arizona. And they're like, oh, us too. It turns out we live like maybe 10 miles from each other, which is very funny. That's it. There's no end to that story. Anyway, I had some drinks at the Bund. Taco Bell. Let's eat them. These all have, they've got tomato sour cream. This is like a supreme. Look at this. Brown meat, cheese sauce, tomato. All right, let's take a bite. Oh, chief complaint, no sauce packets. There are sauce packets in the ads in the building, no actual sauce packets. I asked for sauce packets, and they're like, oh, yeah. And they put out ketchup. They do sell fries there. Ooh, let's see. This is the sauce they had available. They cautioned me. They're like, little bit. This is kind of spicy, but it's not earth-shattering like they seem to make it sound. Anyway, let's bite. It's like actual taco meat, bro. Just like imagine Taco Bell, but 45% better. Don't know how else to explain it. What else we got? Is it the same thing? It looks the same. Yeah, it's like the crunchy beef taco. It's like tastes like a crunchy beef taco from Taco Bell, but 45 to 50% better. What else we got next? This one's soft. This is just a soft beef taco? Is this the same thing? Ooh. I mean, I won't complain because they're pretty delicious. Oh my God. First of all, yes, that's what it is. But you see how much I'm chewing. The tortilla, oh. You know the cheesy gordita crunch, extra thick tortilla they put on? It's kind of like that, but chewier. It's not thicker, but it's like denser. I don't know, that's really cool. Right now I got another hard taco. It's got meat. Oh, this looks like different meat. Oh, this is one of the like, it's like a burger patty, then they cut it in half and they fold it in half and they put it in there like a taco. So you take a circular burger patty, cut, fold, put in a taco. Let's see what this tastes like. Oh, there's corn in it. There's literal corn. Is that onion? Fine, I'll deal with it for you all. I hate onion, but other than that, yeah, it's like caramelized onion, corn, beef, maybe pork. It's a different, it's not ground beef. It's like, I guess we call it steak in the U.S. That's really, like, look at that. That's pretty interesting. Let's put a little of this schmutz on there. Power it down, baby. Oh. Yeah, just having whole ass corn in there is very interesting. It's not bad. What else we got? Fried chicken thing, that same thick ass flour tortilla. It's got some corn because I was dropping stuff. They promised me no peanuts. I'll be pissed. Yeah, I don't even know how to describe that. We got fried chicken, lettuce, tomato because I added it from another one, and then like some kind of sauce that's both sweet and spicy. The fried chicken's in like little bits. That's pretty cool. I like that a lot. Hell yeah, Chinese Taco Bell. Thanks for hanging out. I'll be back with more, maybe, probably. I don't know. Let's go Steelers.
the suburbs with Tommy. Getting out of the city center was important to me, both because I wanted to see more of the country and because, hey, maybe things were awesome in the urban centers, but like there's a big drop off in development when you leave Shanghai proper. Tommy was gracious enough to tour me around for a day and to introduce me to a local crab delicacy. It was nice to ride in a car for a little while, getting about an hour outside of the city. My legs were plenty tired and the scenery was good. I'll spare you a mini rant on the traffic patterns and driving styles in China, but here's an excerpt. They have little number indicators in the street signs telling you how many empty parking spots are available if you go to like XY parking garage, like from the street, so you don't have to turn all the way into the garage even to know whether there will be a spot. Like, why not in America? Funny enough, Mexico! In Mexico, I've been in parking garages where they have little indicators at least on the end of every line, like red or green. Yes, there's spots, no, there's no spots. Why don't we even have that? And I'm sure these exist some places in the US, but like I never see them. Like they aren't in any of the Phoenix parking garages, which I very rarely use anyway, but I walk past them enough. I don't see these signs popping up. How expensive can it possibly be? Tommy and I walked around a little camping area. We saw more waterfront along with some ships, found some cats, and then we went to a tiny restaurant to have the freshest crab humanly possible.
Hello, Krabby. We're probably gonna eat you.
Those things went from alive to cooked in about 2 seconds before they hit our table. This is the Chinese mitten crab, called so because of its big hairy claws. This might be the most foreign thing I ate on the trip. I've had crab before, but this wasn't like eating crab legs. The good part of the mitten crab is the reproductive organ, as Tommy described to me, which you get to by cracking the thing open and sucking out the yellow bits. It was fully cooked and piping hot, but it took a little bit of courage and a little bit of Budweiser to try. The flavor was quite good, actually, the idea being to add nothing to the crab. No soy sauce, no nothing. The meat itself is all you need, like all the flavor is supposed to be in there, that's why it's a delicacy and people like it. Slightly sweet, lots of umami. Also on the table was braised pork with just hunks of delicious fat and a couple different soups with tofu. Everything is so fresh. Like, I never thought I could be so impressed by a daikon radish. I got to meet Tommy's cat and see his apartment, which was surprisingly large, get a massage, and then it was off to the onsen, or Japanese bath house. I've been to an onsen exactly once, and that was in Singapore. This place in China was about 10 times the size, with a full restaurant and even frickin' hotel rooms on property. I don't have many pictures from inside for obvious reasons. It's a bathhouse. People are in various states of disrobe, and if you walk around with a camera, you're probably going to get arrested. But it was nice. They sold exactly 2 kinds of beer, Budweiser and Corona. The Fast and Furious guys would be relatively happy.
You can have any brew you want, as long as it's a Corona.
Food, food, food! We weren't done yet, and the whole reason I travel is to eat, drink, and talk to people, so it was time for Chinese barbecue. Simone met back up with us, and I'm glad, because like most barbecue, it's better with more people. Chinese barbecue involves a charcoal oven in the middle of the table and hundreds of little metal skewers. You order stuff on a menu, including meats, vegetables, as well as straight up like chicken skin and pork fat, which you let sizzle over the charcoal until cooked. There's a little rack up top to hold the cooked skewers while you set the next batch sizzling. Tommy was kind enough to be dad for the meal, since I had no idea like what was what or even how to go about the whole thing. Look at this and tell me it wouldn't be popular in the States.
All right, let's get this sexiness on film.
Listen to that. For dipping, you don't get sauce, but rather a big pile of spices, like mainly cumin, but it's kind of like diluted. It's not just pure cumin, because that'd be a little much. And then you dip the skewers in that. It's like adding a dry rub, but at the end, and I instantly liked it. The meal ends with a huge pile of used skewers and cumin dust everywhere. Highly recommend. One of the biggest culture shock things for me was bringing your own drinks to a restaurant. It's a completely common practice to buy soda, water, beer, etc. before entering a restaurant, and it never stopped feeling weird, like I was being rude, or not even rude, like you're gonna get in trouble. Try it. Try going in the US, or I don't know, is the US the only place that does that? Like, if you walk in with a bottle of Coca-Cola to even a frickin' McDonald's, they're probably gonna be like, hey, maybe not McDonald's because they don't care enough, but go to Applebee's and bring your own soda. They'll be weirded out. guided adventures in Shanghai with Simone. Now I had a couple days with Simone as my tour guide / captive audience for my non-stop chattering. So hey, less talking for a sec, more pictures. Another beautiful park. So many people just hanging out, playing music or singing. Swans. A cat. Communism. Simone's University. We got Mexican food! I have never been more excited to see a Mexican restaurant in my life. Like, what was it gonna be? Well, the Monday special is, let's look here, the Monday special is hamburger, and the Thursday special is spaghetti. We're off to a good start. So it turns out this is a completely authentic American college town Mexican bar. Does that make sense? These were tacos. These were enchiladas, technically. And all the expected ingredients were present, but like the pictures say everything. Definitely did not taste like the Mexican food around here in Phoenix, but I was having a great time. It like being transported to a 1990s Mexican restaurant located in Cleveland, Ohio. More communism. More university buildings. School cafeteria. Lots of bikes. Just so many, an insane number of bikes. A class reunion. Chili's. Furry bait. Another cat. I went looking for a craft brewery and was not disappointed. Located not far from the German consulate, of course, was an Anheuser-Busch-affiliated brewery called Boxing Cat. It was like I'd stepped through a portal back to the States. The aesthetic, the layout, the chalkboards, the prices were identical to what you would expect walking into a craft brew pub in the United States, and I mean that as a compliment. The food was on point, featuring a very thick blue cheese sauce. It was more just like a blue cheese circle they gave me. Not very sauce-like, just freaking solid blue cheese, which I like. It was a good burger. The beer reminded me of home. They're doing it, man. China's doing craft breweries. Look at the taps. Boxing Cat had another designated English-speaking friend. Like this time it was one of the bartenders. They were so kind, like willing to absorb yet more and more chatter from me. I can't help myself. I never stop talking. While I'm talking about food, let me highlight this place. From what I can remember Simone telling me, this is a Mongolian food, and this is yet another restaurant that would do gangbusters in the United States. Like, look at this. Fries, meat on a sizzling skillet, friggin' cheese bread. This place made me like hot lettuce, which I did not think was possible. I really can't choose, but this might have been the most impactful meal I ate in China. It was so far removed from what you would expect and so different from American Chinese food that I want to share it with every American I know. It was also delicious. Oh hey, the iPhone 15 launched the same day, so we took a detour to the closest Apple store to look at the crowd. Less crowd than anticipated, but I cannot stress enough how much this felt like I was still in America. We ended the night with some live jazz. Do you like jazz? Watch my video on jazz. The venue was in this awesome little nightlife area that's literally a hole in the ground. A half dozen clubs, all in like this subterranean alcove, accompanied by a statue of the King of Pop. Why not concentrate all the loud buildings in one place out of the way? The music was shockingly good, and I almost feel bad for being shocked. One of the things that I'm a little patriotic for is jazz music, like it's an American invention. I tell you what, these guys not only did the genres justice, but they were kicking ass. This drummer was blowing my mind. Like, he's a little busy maybe, but I kind of liked it. The crowd was unique. You could tell people wanted to get a little rowdy, like to hoot and holler, but they lacked confidence. There was more than a few moments where I'd let out a like woo from the back of the room, and that would cause a cascade of like, woo 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 woo. Yeah. A cascade of others would then like yelp out in approval. The room was definitely into the music, and whenever clapping would break out, man, they could not find the beat to save their lives. See, there's my future job. Like, in the same way that, I don't think this is a real job, but like, in the same way that I would encounter the designated English-speaking friend, I want to be the, like, designated freaking vibe checker for the jazz club. Like, I'll clap on beat, I'll yell, hey, like, after good solos. Maybe even like a, go on now, get it, from time to time, if you're in the mood. Let me read a little more from my journal here. Biked home. You can't even tell I'm reading the script, man. Biked home using a share bike. Cost 50 cents and was as fast as the subway. Big roads have dedicated protected bike lanes. The city is beautiful day and night, but especially when spritzed with rain. You get used to the rhythm of the cars, bikes, and scooters weaving in and out. Overall, share the road has never been more real than in Shanghai. I had a final beer before going up to my room at the hotel and resting for Costco Day. Whew, good morning, good morning. I mean, that's right, this bit of me reading my script took so long that I've boiled over into the next day. New maroon shirt, new red hat. Did you notice? Should I have not said anything? If you've made it this far in the video, I think we're at the friggin' hour mark at this point. Congratulations and thank you very much. Maybe you're just listening to this as like a book on tape, help you go sleep. A nice sleepy sound of my voice, monotonously, ha ba 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 ba, ba ba ba, China, 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 ba 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 ba, America dumb, China smart. There's been like some mild discourse about people who say like, I love your videos so much, I watch them when I go to sleep, or I guess not watch, like I listen to them when I go to sleep, and whether or not that should be considered an insult. And maybe I, just to prevent that, should just have some random loud noises and sirens going off like every 45 minutes or so, just like a YouTube poop style scream, ultimate compression. I would never do that to you. I love and respect you. Okay, what the heck were we talking about? Costco. This was my final day in Shanghai before leaving by train for Beijing, and local furries had put together a little house party. The plan was simple. Rent a party house, get food from Costco, I'll play a little concert. So we're off to Costco. Like, what the heck was that gonna be like? Spoiler, it is identical to American Costco, to like a scary degree. They got the same basic layout, the same samples, the same hot dog. Like we ate it. It is the exact hot dog. I don't know if they have teleportation technology. I don't know if they just like airdropped a Costco. They like out of Washington and then brought it over, or what. But man, it's like my giant hand in this photo makes it look smaller, but no, it's the exact same hot dog. There are plenty of items unique to China, but you got like beef quesadilla platters right next to durian. Friggin' surreal. Of course, they had Kirkland American vodka, and I was even offered a free sample of baijiu. That is what I call service. So like, I don't know what the rules are at your local Costco's. I don't even know if that's a rule thing, or if they realize they don't have to give out samples to sell booze. But I've never been offered an alcohol sample in Arizona Costco, at least. Funny rule. Here you go. Here's my Arizona travel tip. If you want to buy cheap liquor and don't have a Costco card, they literally, they cannot stop you from doing so, because there's like a weird Arizona-specific rule that is you can't have liquor be tied to a club membership, like liquor purchases be tied to a membership. I need to look into that, because it sounds like a thing where people tell you it and you're like, oh, it's not real. But it is. They'll be like, where's your card? I'm just here to get liquor. And they go, okay. And then you go to the checkout. Where's your card? I'm just getting liquor. And they go, okay. But you can only, like, if you get a sandwich too, nope, you got to get that card. I have my Costco card because one of my friends works at Costco. And two people can be assigned to a membership, at least the kind he gets from working there. And there you are. Gradually becoming not worth it, actually. Like, the bulk is nice, but if you actually do the math and go, I've gone from saving, 10, 20% maybe on these items to 5, 10%, sometimes less. Sometimes they're the same price or even more expensive. Get your shit together, American Costco. It was cheaper Chinese Costco. The party house was extravagant. I don't think anyone lived in the house permanently, and the layout was so big that there was actually another group there at the same time that we were, but we never saw them or interacted with them. Like, big.
Really cannot overstate how massive and amazingly luxurious this, I guess Airbnb would be the term that we're staying in is. Like, oh, look, it's a window, no surprise. It's like an enclosed balcony laundry room. This is the second floor. You can see the places around here. Like, this is like a little enclave of mansions. I think some people actually live in these, and most of them use them as like investment property.
There were a comical number of bathrooms. Like every single bedroom had its own, like they were all master bedrooms because they all had their own bathroom, and they were all like lavishly designed bathrooms. We partied. There was even another American there for me to talk to. Look at all these dogs. After that incredible send-off, it was time for Sleepy Simone and Sleepy me to walk to the sleepy train station to get on a bullet train to Beijing. I know you've heard it already from anybody lucky enough to travel this way, but high-speed rail can't be undersold. It's so fast, convenient, you're not getting hassled about your luggage, you don't have to take your pants off in security, and the trains are comfortable. Like, air travel just sucks compared to this, and that's before you consider how much cheaper the train is. Couple things to know about booking a long-distance train in China. Keep in mind this was 2023 and things change constantly, like I keep saying. Although you can browse schedules months in advance, you can't actually book the train tickets as far out as you can like a plane ticket. I mean, you can book a plane ticket sometimes almost a year in advance. 2 weeks seems to be when they open the bookings for these trains, and I had the benefit of Simone running around and helping me out. This matters because much like a plane ticket, your train ticket is attached to your name and passport. In fact, I don't think I ever got a physical ticket, just a digital confirmation and the promise that my ticket would come up when my passport was scanned. And it did! It was extremely easy, almost to a suspicious degree, but my suspicions were unfounded. When boarding the train, there was a separate line I needed to get in since I was using a passport and not the Chinese ID cards that everybody has. I mean, like, coming from a country where, do you guys have your real IDs yet? Every year they say they're going to require us to all go and turn in our driver's licenses and pay a $110 fee to get a better ID, as opposed to the IDs I've been using all my life, and it's like it's good enough to drive a car, but actually traveling interstate, even now this becoming an issue. The Chinese ID cards, man, they are like fully integrated, and it seems like you can walk around with, if you got that ID card, you can do almost anything. So since you as a tourist like me will not have one of those Chinese ID cards, be ready to kind of like hold your passport at eye level and just kind of like look around, and some employee will inevitably look at you and go, yeah, you come here, because you got to go through the special line. They got to take your passport, scan it. You see like just a little like, because everybody else is just boop, 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 go, 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 run on the train. It's very efficient. Then they don't have to stop everything because they have like 5-6 lines, at least when I was there. But the passport one requires a little bit of like a couple keys on a computer, check, yeah, okay, it's you, goodbye. Chinese bullet trains have multiple fare classes. There's second class, first class, business class, VIP, among others, depending on what train type you're on. I was on the G train, baby, because I'm a straight up G. The G train is the fastest in the dang world, and I got second class, the cheapest ticket available on the G train, which sounds wrong, but yeah. Sipping a beer, eating a shockingly good meal, traveling at hundreds of miles per hour for the low price of $80 US. I did feel like a G. For comparison, the 650-mile distance from Shanghai to Beijing is about the same as the distance from New York City to Charlotte, North Carolina. And while I can find a one-way plane ticket for under $100, it's on Spirit Airlines, so like you're not getting any bags on that plane. The train, I'm sure there was a baggage limit, but nobody was like checking and weighing, and like you could probably bring 2 big suitcases, it looked like. You gotta find a place to stick them or freaking shove them under your legs. There are luggage compartments, but I was kind of surprised that, because, you know, you get on the plane and baggage has its own separate freaking Geneva Convention going on, and then you get on the train and it's like, hey, there's like, you know, every car has a couple little slots. You figured out some of it. There's overhead little hangy things. You can stick your bags up there if it fits, like a medium or small size suitcase. Just so casual, but you know, I walked down, there was a slot, shove it in there, pull down the little bar thing so it doesn't roll away. It's nice. Then you just lift the bar, roll, you're out, you're done. You don't go to baggage claim or nothing. It's just like deliriously more convenient. It's the frickin' Danny DeVito, I get it meme. As soon as you do it, you're like, why do we mess up? The train took just over 4 hours, where a flight would have taken 2, but once you factor like checking in your bags, going through security, waiting to board, boarding, taxiing from your gate to the runway, taxiing from the runway to the gate, and whatever delays are going to be factored into that, getting to baggage claim, waiting for your bag, and then getting out of the airport, it's a wash. Like it's going to be at least 4 hours total from stepping into the airport to stepping out of your other airport. If we start now, the USA could be there by 2040. Like, why not? Right, we got to keep the bankers that own America happy. Gotta keep financing that debt with more debt and more war, but you've heard this 100 times from more people than me. I am a giant, very tall man. Not to brag, ladies. But how were the seats? They were dang comfortable. I am 6'6" or 198 centimeters, and I had plenty of legroom. The bathrooms were spacious and clean, and the food was, well, here it is. Like, does this look appetizing to anyone? Comment below. The taste of this food was shocking for being a pre-packaged train meal, and helps me illustrate what most meals in China are like. Like, check out these quadrants we got. Yeah, there's 5 of them. Shut up. We got our edamame square with some carrot and chicken. We got the shrimp zone up here, which looks like it's in water, but that was actually like a flavorful like broth of some kind. Then we got the compulsory massive cube of braised pork, which was about 60% fat. Oh, Jesus, spiking the mic up in here. Nice. Yeah, big chunk of pork sitting on a bed of spinach or some other green, I'm not sure. It could have been kailan, jialan, whatever they call it. Chinese cabbage, Chinese broccoli. It's so unlike broccoli, the fact that the most common name in the US is Chinese broccoli. Yeah, I guess you look at broccoli rabe, and broccoli rabe kind of looks like broccoli, at least. It looks like a variation. It's like it got the clumpy bits, and like little. It still looks like a little tree. When I was younger, I thought that broccoli Rob was like a man named Robert. Like, oh yes, broccoli Robert is here to. He loves his broccoli. Get him some broccoli cheese soup. Then lastly, the starch area containing a big chunk of yam and a smaller chunk of potato, both squeezed in beside a pile of what I think was like bamboo shoots, maybe a radish of some kind. They were lightly pickled. That cup in the middle has a garlicky, like slightly spicy sauce that I dipped everything in. I was tired from lack of sleep and a little hungover from the party, but I still managed to eat all of this. Maybe I just really needed the nutrients, but it tasted so good. Being a prepackaged thing, I assumed it would, like, you're looking at the cover, like I'm gonna rip this back and it's gonna be like a Hungry Man dinner, or it's gonna look like a devour overly sexualized food. I say overly sexualized. Is there an appropriate amount to sexualize a TV dinner? Food you want to spork. I assumed it would be mostly processed food, like, but look, the potatoes have skin. Sounds like little potato hairs on it. Like, I don't know if this was prepared by hand or what, but it had that kind of essence. The opposite of the impression you get from McDonald's, where everything is perfect and like shoved in a mold. This meal cost about $10 US. Probably the most one of the more expensive meals I got, and that's because you're on a train. You ever buy a meal on a plane? Ugh. Be about $18 and you get half a sandwich. There won't be any potatoes. Here are some pictures I took out the window. Like, they're blurry from the speed and full of reflections off the glass, but look at it. We went through like 1 or 2 mountains. It would just go dark for a little bit. Then you're back in the light, looking at all these giant high rises. 4 hours later and I was in Beijing. No extra security, no checkpoints to pass. You just follow the signs from the platform to the subway, all without ever going outside. Like, I Apple mapped my way to the hotel, and baby, it was the nicest one yet. Seriously, this place was awesome.
This hotel room is like the coolest freaking, like, it's so future modern. Everything is flat. Everything is like button controls for everything. Got a sink, got a fridge, got like tea kettle. I mean, those are just drawers, but stuff like this. Like, oh, this is a wall, right? Little closet. Surprise! It's like this big old storage area with chairs in it. Oh, what else we got? Got a nice closet. Ooh, yeah, fancy. But you go in here and you're like, oh my god, where's the shower? Is there no shower? Did they forget? Did they forget to put a shower? Oh my goodness! What? Oh yeah, one other thing. What's this? Is this a wall? Is this just like a surprise? Oh god, it's a hydraulically lowered. It's just really neat. Good hotel, Beijing. And somehow cheaper than the Shanghai spot. So modern, with a couple convenience stores in the bottom level. Look at these Doritos. Something about the font, like, definitely still the Doritos font, but in Chinese.
I like it. Part 4. Beijing. After getting settled into my hotel, I still had a few hours of daylight to burn, so I headed on down to Tiananmen Square to ask the kids if fashion was really why they were there. It took me a few trips on the subway to recognize the pattern, but when you get to the stops in the center of the city, the couple that service the areas with the most government buildings, you see like a guard in military uniform get on and they stand by the door. Then they ride for a couple of stops, then they get back off. Rinse and repeat. Then they get on the train going the other way and they just back and forth, back and forth. This makes a lot of sense when I think about it in American terms. Like imagine you got a subway station right next to Capitol Hill or the White House or something, and an army guy gets on the train with his M4, M5, I'm dumb. And then they would like ride on the train until, do that same kind of pattern. I remembered I'm so close to the equivalent of the Chinese White House, so like all the security instantly makes sense to me. Speaking of extra security, Tiananmen Square was extremely beautiful, if not a little surreal. The space is wide and packed with tourists. I say packed. There were a ton of people there, but as I kept talking to people and asking like, hey, tourism, blah, blah, I got the idea that we were at kind of a low time because the next week was going to be the national holiday when everybody would be showing up. So as you see these pictures, this is like empty for Tiananmen Square. There's tons of families and a surprising number of people setting up phones on tripods and doing like TikTok dances. Like going in, I'm like, oh, am I dressed correctly for this? Maybe this is like some kind of formal area where I need to show a certain amount of respect. Yeah, people are dressed relatively casual. I mean, no one's being vulgar. Like, no one's just like whipping it out or whatever, but setting up the thing, like there were at least a dozen people who were clearly making videos. They had the little ring light thing, which was funny because it was the middle of the day and like that light is doing nothing. But it had a kind of like, not quite festive, but a relatively chill vibe. And oh yeah, they wouldn't be shooting TikTok dances. They'd be shooting Douyin dances, I guess. That's what they call it in China. It's the same thing. I'm here at Tiananmen Square, baby. It is hard to put into words how large these flowers are. Humongous. Got Mao's mausoleum back there. Got... I think that's the Great Hall of the People, but I'm not sure. We got National Museum. Very beautiful. In another like hour or so, it's going to be lit up too, and that'll be ridiculous. I saw the government buildings, Mao's tomb, the Forbidden City across the street, which I never went into just because I'm like, that'd be like a whole vacation. It's massive, and that's like a whole multiple day thing in and of itself. I was the only Western tourist, at least to my eyes. I kept looking around like I'm not looking super hard like, help, I can't feel secure unless another pale person is nearby, another ghost face, another vanilla man. It's one of those things where you get used to like you're living your life and you're used to seeing certain things, and then when that changes, your brain in the back is like, something is different, what's happening? But not only was I the only Western tourist, I was also one of the only people there alone, which is why I was not that surprised when from behind me I hear, hello. I don't turn around yet. Like maybe they're saying hello in English to someone else, not to the 2 meter tall guy with red hair. Hello, sir. Yep, it's me. I turn around and face the security guard and briefly consider attempting some Mandarin. I keep it in English. I say, hi, how's it going? Can I see your passport, please? Yes, of course. I dig around in my bag, pull it out. He looks at it for a second. Why have you come to China? Tourism. He looks for another like 3 seconds, hands me back my passport. Have a nice day. Walks away. Like, I'm laughing now, but at the time, this was terrifying. It's probably obvious from this video, but like, I have a more nuanced opinion on China and its government than most Americans. But standing there alone in the capital, sticking out like the sore thumb that I am, all the paranoia comes flooding into my mind. Yep, this is it. The evil communists are going to put me in jail because they hate me for my freedom. It seems all right now, but that guy just put an invisible tracking device on my passport. He took a photo with his magic eye camera. They're looking at my hotel right now. When I get back, there'll be a paddy wagon waiting to take me away. They already looked at my passport 3 times to even get in here, so why could they possibly need to look? Then I remembered. Wait. I've been to DC and absolutely had my bag searched through by a random cop while just like standing around next to the Washington Monument. It's happened multiple times. In this case, at worst, I was like randomly selected for additional screening. It's even more likely that this guy was just bored and like wanted to practice his English for a second. This was the worst part of my trip, and that should say something. Like, the worst thing that happened to me in China was a security officer asking to see my passport, handing it back, and then saying thank you. That's it. Anecdote: one time on the subway, I was taking the elevator since I had a bunch of stuff with me, and another guy was holding his baby, and the baby was looking over his shoulder at me, standing behind him. The baby was staring, not confused, not scared, just like matter of fact. When I say baby, I mean like he's like just old enough to not be in like a carrier of some kind, like nowhere near speaking, probably hasn't said his first words yet, and the tiny baby. The baby thrust their hand out towards me to try and grab my beard. And this got the dad's attention, who like turned, saw me, and he's like starts apologizing, and I'm just smiling, and I'm like, man, you're fine. That was the cutest thing that happened on my trip. Precious. Anyway, I left the square and headed out to find food. Shocking, right? Me. Food. Who would have thought? I went to a British restaurant. There was an Arsenal bar in the middle of Beijing, and I was curious, like Arsenal, the football club. I ordered some sausages with sauerkraut and mustard, and a plate of cheesy pasta. I wasn't trying to be fancy or anything, but for the noodles, I wanted chopsticks. Like, I'm not trying to be whatever a weeaboo is for a China boo. Like, I just, when it comes like long noodle pasta, I genuinely prefer eating it with chopsticks. It's easier. I like it's freaking chicken nuggets at this point. Anything that's like a bite-sized thing, I like the chopsticks, because sometimes you go stab you with the fork and it falls apart. Or I like the grab. Like it stays whole as you grab it. Eating Cheetos and stuff with, I haven't actually done that because I'm too lazy. I can't eat them fast enough. Gotta get the cheese in my mouth. So I asked for these chopsticks, and the wait staff was very surprised. First of all, like we were already, they didn't seem nervous, but you could really tell that it has been a while since they've had Western tourists, and the wait staff is just like, oh crap, what's my training? I gotta remember this. Let me get the other guy. They'd go get somebody. They'd come up, both talk to me a little bit, then they'd go back again, get a third guy. Like they were all kind of like as a team working out what the heck I actually wanted, because I think they're like, there's no way this guy wants chopsticks. They want forks. They can't use chopsticks. We learned this in our training. So anyway, at the end of this, they're going back and forth, figuring out what I say, and then who got like the oldest guy in the nicest clothes, I assume he's like the manager or owner or something, comes over and he's like, sorry man, we don't have any chopsticks. Not in that casual of English, but that's what he said. And I'm like, oh, okay, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Only once on my trip did anybody even ask, like, oh, do you want a fork? It's funny, it was like an afterthought. It was at that the Mongolian restaurant from earlier in the video. The guy comes back and asks in Chinese to Simone, who was doing all the talking. He comes back and he's like, oh crap, does he want a fork? And I was like, nah, chopsticks are good. And I was so proud of myself. My freaking weeaboo skills are finally paying off. That time when I got really into reading Bleach, the first 9 books or so, and just sat down with not totally dry, but like white instant rice, like instant white rice with no sauce or anything in it. So it, like, the hardest possible thing to try and use chopsticks for. Getting like 1 grain at a time, get a scoop technique. That's how I taught myself. I sat down, put the thing in, I followed the instructions on the side of the wrapper, which everyone jokes about being useless, but I got there. I developed these skills, and it was all coming together, man. The funniest part of this meal was the couple that brought in 2 horribly behaved beagles. They came in, barked at everyone. They're just like wandering around the shop. They looked at me, walked away. It took about 15 minutes for them to finally like get them calmed down. They're sat, they put them on a leash, and then as soon as they're on the leashes, what do? They started crying. I can't bother everyone in the restaurant. Honestly, it was very, very funny. I keep saying this, it was just like in the US, man. Like how many people do you know who complain like, don't bring your dog to the restaurant? I like seeing people's dogs at restaurants. I do think they should be on a leash and like semi-behaved. You can't just bring any dog out to the brewery or whatever. You have to kind of know your dog. I spent the rest of this night using the share bikes to explore the business district, where I saw this very cool building. Even if my entire trip was just biking around town and eating, it would have been worth the trip. Like, it would have been worth the flight. Easily my favorite activity. I love riding bikes. I love eating. Look at this park. Back to the hotel to sleep.
That's quite enough. Pause button now. After an hour plus, do you know how? Take a bow, I'm down, you deserve it. Come back later on. Whoa. Where is your wife? Where are your kids? Did you abandon them to watch Veets? Put a lid on it for a second. Come back later on. Whoa.
Olympic Park. Side note, while looking at the various online travel guides and YouTube explainers on China, they kept mentioning how, one, you need to bring your own toilet paper because public restrooms and just restrooms in general may or may not have any toilet paper. And then two, they would frequently mention just how few public bathrooms were available in the first place. As an American, I'm kind of used to not being able to pee while out and about in town, at least not without buying something at a restaurant. I have never been more lied to. I brought, no joke, 6 full rolls of toilet paper, just in case, because I've never even been in a situation where it's like, oh, you gotta bring your own toilet paper. It's never even occurred to me. So I have no idea. I'm like, how much toilet paper do I use in a vacation? Is a roll not enough? Is it too much? All right, I'm bringing a ton just in case, because I'm imagining this nightmare situation where I just have poopy butt and I just there's no toilet paper in the entire subcontinent. But I did not use a single sheet of my own toilet paper. I did use some toilet paper in China. I don't want to be gross, but yes, I did use the bathroom. There was the term embarrassment of riches. There was an embarrassment of bathrooms available to me everywhere I went, both in the city centers of Shanghai and Beijing, and when I ventured outside of the urban cores. Maybe this was a big problem 5 or 10 years ago, but I saw 0 human feces on the sidewalk. In China, that is. In the US, you see it all the time. I drink a lot of water all the time. They're saying to hydrate. And being able to easily pop into one of the tens of thousands of convenient public restrooms I walked by was pretty great. This shouldn't be a big deal to me, but go to LA and walk around. Go to San Francisco. Good luck finding a toilet you can use outside of your hotel. You can go to restaurants there and they'll be no bathrooms. So you're like, I bought stuff. And they're like, we don't have a bathroom. And I'm like, I don't believe you. There's no way that you go to work all day. Speaking of hotels, my hotel had free breakfast in Beijing, and it was pretty fancy. As you can see, Mr. Coffee graduated and is now Dr. Coffee. I went to a mall looking to get a hat, and not this hat. This is my precious hockey team that no longer exists. Let's go Coyotes, clap, 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 clap. I was looking for a hat, and I saw some nice displays. Look, so many rabbits. Some of them had to do with white rabbit candy. It's a Chinese original. I highly recommend. It's very mild tasting. It's good. See if you can find white rabbit. Also, it's gonna seem like it has paper on it. Oh, I can't. Oh no, the wrapper effed up and the wax on the wrapper fused onto the candy. No, that's you eat that. That dissolves. It's kind of weird. It feels like you're I'm just eating paper. It's just give it a second. It dissolves. And other displays were because it was the year of the rabbit in Chinese zodiac. I saw some very fancy cars. Look, the frickin' McLaren. One of those parking things where they got 2 layers and the one car gets lifted up and then you park under the car, and that's neat. And eventually I did find a hat. And then I made I was walking around the mall is there the equivalent of a lids or whatever? Because I just didn't have a hat at that point, and I intentionally was I'm not bringing a hat because I'm gonna buy one when I get there. I walk around, I got bald ass head. I'm gonna need to protect that from the sun. And I'm walking around the mall. I'm going through multiple layers. I'm in the whole men's department. I end up picking up what it turns out to be women's hats, and they don't quite fit my head either. Anyway, so I'm like, "Do you have men's?" And they didn't know what I was saying. And then as soon as I buy this hat, I turn a corner, giant hat shop. There it is. There it was the whole time. But hey, I'm happy with the hat I got. Now behatted, I headed over to the Olympic Park. And oh man, this was way better than I could have possibly imagined. Originally, I was just looking for, I'm like, cool, these bikes are great. Where is a zone where I can just bike? Is there a little nature path or something I can ride around on? Just be in China for a bit. And the internet was yeah, you go to north of the Olympic Park. There's the Olympic forest, I think they called it, the forest park. And there's awesome bike paths, miles and miles of bike paths. Great place to do it, have a good bikey time. But I get off at the train and I realize, oh man, I have to I need to go through the entirety of the Olympic complex to get to it. So I start walking, I'm looking for food, and I got nothing better to do. Let's freaking check it out. So I'm walking around
the Olympic Park. There's the bird nest, aka the National Outdoor Stadium. Oh, it's so much bigger than it seems like. Got the water cube over there behind those trees. And I was hungry, but the hot food was closed. So I got myself this kind of like, it's like twisty donut looking thing. Anybody speak Chinese? There's like silica gel packets in the, I mean, I guess it keeps it from getting goopy, but it's like a twisty donut full of some kind of egg custard, and it's frankly delicious.
What I did not realize was just how well the Olympic facilities had been maintained. Like, I hadn't really considered it. I remembered that the Olympics happened in Beijing, but I kind of assumed it was like most, like the Olympics have been held in LA, but you don't go to LA and be like, oh, look, the Olympics, woo! I mean, you probably can, but I don't hear a lot of people talking about, I'm gonna go to LA and look at the Olympic stadiums. In Beijing, man, they've kept these things going, and they've made them into cool tourist attractions. Like, I showed up, and I started poking around the buildings, hoping for a ticket booth or like a visitor center, and I was in luck. So you walk in, you're facing north. On your left, you got the National Aquatics Center, or the Water Cube, as it is popularly called. And hey, when they did the Winter Olympics, it was the Ice Cube, and that was pretty great. It worked for both. And then on the right, you have the Bird's Nest, or National Outdoor Stadium, as it is officially called. I did not go inside the water cube, partly because I assumed it would be humid, and I just didn't want to be hot, because it's an active aquatic center with multiple pools, and there's a water park in it now. Like, they repurposed some of the area, and the website's like, the best water park in town. And then also because like I was like, oh, maybe I'll go after I go in this stadium, but I ended up spending quite a lot of time in the Bird's Nest. Both of these buildings are extremely cool in their construction. The water cube has these clear outer walls, and it manages to make it look like it's like made of little soap bubbles with the surface tension, these like irregular little tons of natural light gets in, and at night it gets lit up. Of course, like every building in China looks awesome at night, it seems. And this is the same building that saw Michael Phelps win 8 of his gold medals. It's kind of cool. So let's talk about the bird nest. Before visiting the National Stadium in Beijing, my interest level was somewhere around a 2 out of 10. I was lucky and happened to be in Beijing during Tourist Week. They called it like the Tourist Festival, and which meant that admission was discounted. Same thing when I went up in the tower earlier, the Shanghai Oriental Pearl Tower. The tickets were like half off, and you got like the deluxe, but they had several tiers, and they're like, no, you just get the best one, and it's cheaper. Hooray, like cheaper than what it usually would be for the most basic package. I think the strategy there is to try to get people to come earlier, so they'll leave earlier to try and ease congestion for the national holiday. But anyway, I think it was like $8 American to go inside. There was barely anybody there, probably because it was noon on a Monday, but the group of tourists I did encounter in the lobby were quite excited to see me. When I tell people I went to China, many ask if, like, were you the tallest one there? Like, did everybody want to take pictures with you? Did people stare at you? And this was the only time that happened. A group of 5 or 6, like, middle-aged people saw me and immediately wanted to take pictures. They were all, hey, like, making happy faces, saying things I can't understand, like, beckoning me over. I have a habit of crouching slightly when I do photos because I don't want to look like a towering giant. But as soon as I did that, they all start doing this, like, no, stand up. Stand up tall. So then I get into it and start like, hey, her. It was very wholesome, actually. I used my 2 favorite phrases on them. I'm American, 我是美国人, and I cannot speak Chinese. 我不会说中文. They smiled, gave me thumbs up, and I continued farther into the stadium. It was actually kind of funny because it's that thing where, like, you say, like, bye, and then you both turn to go in the same direction because you're both going on the same tour. It's like, bye, see, okay, we're going, enjoy looking at stuff. I shouldn't be surprised, since these are tourist attractions I'm going to, but every place I went had something to do at it. Paths to walk down, signs to read, displays to look at. The stadium is just one example, but let's get into it. At the stadium, I could walk freely around the self-guided tour areas, reading the informative signage. I could enter the museum-like spots that featured several rooms set up like life-size dioramas with bits of the same furniture and decorations used in the 08 and 22 Olympics. Some of the rooms were set up permanently like they were on the days they were used for their official purposes. They're like, and here is the room where the International Olympic Committee signed blah 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 forms, and they have all these very impressive looking chairs set up in the formation, and I'm like, this is kind of neat. It's like a royal court. You could go out into the stadium itself with big chunks of the seating totally open for exploration. You can just walk around. I was lucky because the field was being completely changed over in preparation for that national day. Like, basically their Independence Day is October 1st, and there was going to be a big thing in the national stadium. Why not? Give a speech, have some dances. You saw the opening ceremonies. They know how to put on a thing. You can get an ice cream bar from one of the gift shops. The sea salt cheese was actually a delicious flavor. You can climb up to the roof of the stadium, not just for a peek where you like go up, look, come back down, but you can walk around the whole roof on a long series of catwalks. You get great views of not only the bird's nest, but the surrounding city. I even got to see the best place of photo taking for steel structure. And it was a good, I got a good photo taking for steel structure. Look at that structure. Everything other than the ice cream bar was included in admission, and I haven't even talked about the exhibits of the Olympic gear. I never thought I'd care about looking at a shot put, but there it is. I learned a lot about the design and construction of the place too, since there were infographics everywhere. This place does a great job of making you care about it. I walked in barely knowing that this place even existed, but now I'm like an official stan. I love the bird's nest. In this house, we stay in the bird's nest. All my homies love the bird's nest. As I was headed towards roof access, 3 guys in suits wearing red like Chinese flag pins wanted a picture as well. They were all smiles, and the guy's phone case had LeBron James on the back of it, which made me smile. I'm pretty sure 3 party members just wanted a picture with the tall American. Earlier, I was talking about how all this is free with admission. I can so easily picture that if this was in America, there is no way you would be allowed to go on the roof for free. This would all be sold off as separate tickets once you get inside. It's like, oh, you can be in the building for $8, but then everything you do from there will cost extra.
That'll be $5 each.
$5? We already paid $5. The sign says everything $5.
That's right. Everything is $5.
I went to Pearl Harbor because we had a layover in Honolulu coming back from either Singapore or Australia. I don't remember. A few years ago, we had like a 12-hour layover, so it's like, let's get out and look at some stuff. Took a taxi to Pearl Harbor, and you can like walk up to Pearl Harbor for free, but to look at. I said say do. It's just to walk over here and witness something. Like if you want to see the stream of where there's still like bubbles coming up from one of the sunken ships. Tragic, but if you want to go out on a little bridge they've made to look at that and read the signs and do the tourism stuff there, everything is an additional fee. It was $20 extra to walk over there, $20 extra to walk over onto this sub, $20 extra to walk over onto this ship.
Everything is $5.
And I was hanging out with my friend Foxamore, who's Scottish, and he's like, "This is your national birthright. How can they charge it admission for the..." I'll stop doing the accent. But he was flabbergasted that you would be charged extra as an American to look at your own historical things. It didn't even occur to me. I'm like, you know what? You're kind of right. I pay taxes. Can I not look at my own, in theory, my own, right? Because we all own these things. These are national monuments, national parks. This is military things, and I fund the military with my money and labor. I'll cut my tangent off, but it was highly refreshing to be able to just do stuff in the place after paying the one price and not feeling like you're nickeled and dimed on all sides at all times. On the roof, there's a sign talking about how they got the giant Olympic torch in there for opening ceremonies in 2008. Then you look to the side and, there it is. All the signs describing just how much effort, engineering, and now maintenance it takes to make this thing real are quite effective, especially when you see workmen just casually walking along the massive metal frame, doing touch-ups. One guy was just straight up mopping. He's just mopping the structure. Like, imagine if your job was to wash this.
So we're up here on top of the National Stadium because you can just take a staircase all the F way to the roof. We are hundreds of feet above the ground, and you can still go farther. It's quite a bit of stairs on the way. It is sunny finally here in Beijing.
I salute them because it was beautiful.
Jesus Christ, it just keeps going. Like, you can, look, there's like catwalks all over this thing. You just get to walk around the whole roof. Oh, it's so good. If you think it's boring to go, like, oh, I don't want to see the National Stadium. I don't even care about sports. Do you like looking at interesting buildings? Do you like what feels like urban exploring, but legal? Oh, I'm about to go look into that big hole. Ooh. Frickin' A, dude, except for this crackly speaker that can't decide if it wants to work or not. Oh, fantastic. They're setting up for the national holiday. It's gonna be October 1st. Yeah. closer up here.
I could have spent this entire day exploring the Olympic Park, but it was time to move on. Bird! Cool bird! Saw a cool bird. I think it's like a magpie, some kind of corvid. Anyway, there are more towers and structures than you can shake a bird nest at, and I was content to get back on my share bike and keep wandering. Maybe I'd find that park I was originally looking for.
Guess we just paid 10 cents to ride a bike around some of the most beautiful architecture and landscaping you're ever gonna see in your life. Hell yeah, man. I tell you, do tourism in China. It kicks ass. I'm a broken record at this point. Everything I have done is cool. If you like looking at architecture and museums and public spaces and parks, if you like biking around, you get the bike. Oh, my knees do clear the handlebars. Just barely.
As I headed north, I kept seeing info signs and some were in English. It turns out that the water feature I'd been biking along wasn't just some crick, but the dragon-shaped water system. A man-made water feature that spans the entire Beijing Olympic Park, like from north to south, goes all along it. Neat. I biked toward the Dragon's Head to find that dang park that the internet said offered a great spot to bike. Well, in recent years, the Olympic Forest Park has been closed to bikes, so that was a bust. However, I was still allowed to walk around on foot, of course, and the entrance was free. Again, free. Just walk around the park. There's no way that crap would be free if it was in America. Oh, you could ride bikes in the... You could rent a Surrey, like a 4-person, like SUV bike where it's like 4 sets of pedals and a steering wheel and stuff. Like you could rent that as a family, but not just like you can't just bring bikes in. And I kind of understand because there's so much foot traffic. They probably got sick of like weaving in and out of like bikes, people it's making it unpleasant. So they had to decide. For this section, I'm gonna just stop talking and show you some pictures. This is the Beijing Olympic Forest Park. Does everybody appreciate my high-tech way to turn on and off my camera? Because it is shoved in a back corner behind my monitor and everything. It's this hey, get in there. Gonna mess up it's gonna start auto-focusing no matter how many times I turn off the autofocus, so I better not press my luck. Accidental hot pot. After biking around for several hours and not eating since breakfast, I had a mighty need. I found an area on my map with several food options all close together and I took off on bike. I spent a few minutes on my phone trying to like translate the shop signs with my camera, trying to figure out who was open, like what kind of food to expect. I didn't want hot pot because that's a group thing with a lot of like do-it-yourself elements, and I was both alone and uncultured. I try one place. Dark lobby, I just assume it's closed. No, it doesn't look open. I try another place that advertises northern food, and hey, I had some amazing northern food just a couple days earlier, so I go on in. I see a glass counter with meat behind it, and I'm like, oh no, there's like a butcher shop or something, so I'm about to leave. And then I see the tables, and there's holes in the tables, and I put it together. This is northern style hot pot. Exactly what I was trying to avoid. As was common on my trip, there were a handful of people kind of just like hanging out in the restaurant. One was definitely an employee, but the others, they could have been customers, other employees, maybe like friends or local regulars. Not sure. But at this point, I'd already been perceived, and all of my social anxieties are flaring up, and I'm just trying to sneak back out. The lady at the counter is asking me stuff in Chinese, and I'm trying to mime while being like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm by myself. I didn't know this was hot pot. And the people hanging out are looking at each other, and they're trying to do the team translation cycle gets going again, like when I was asking for chopsticks. Meanwhile, I'm creeping back towards the door. Eventually, there's a beat of silence, and then a man in a chef's hat comes out, steps into the room, and we all kind of look at him, and he says, sit down. And he gestures at the table. My face lights up with recognition, just hearing English, and I'm like, oh, okay. Everybody laughs, the tension is broken, and I've now been temporarily adopted by this restaurant. The waitress and I talk back and forth using our phone translation apps, and I let her know I've never had hot pot in China before, and you're gonna have to basically do it all for me. I like all food, but I'm allergic to peanuts. I give her one of my little peanut cards, and everyone passed it around, like seemingly impressed. They're just like, oh wow, look at this guy. I was led to a little salad bar thing. So you sit down, we talk for a second, and then she's like, oh, like she beckons me over to this little salad bar thing that's covered in vegetables, different chili sauces, full-on cloves of bright green garlic. Of fruit and different spices. There's much like watermelon and stuff. They let me know which of the various sauces had peanuts, and at one point the chef hastily took a thing of garlic paste off of my table, left, and then we came back with a fresh one. Like he made me. He went and he's like, dude, I gotta make this guy some. I'm like tearing up right now. You gotta make this guy peanuts. Give him some garlic. Oh my god. Like it's the little things, you know? Getting emotional about food and music, the things that can make my eyes get misty. Well, I guess in this case, the human kindness that allowed me to experience some food. It's like I've been places where it's like, sorry, we got too many peanuts, you can't eat here. And these guys are like, well, frickin', I'll make you a new one from scratch just so you can have some garlic paste. Like, and I ate the shit out of that garlic paste. Just with a spoon. Okay, I put it in the soup, but I like garlic. Thank goodness these guys were willing to help me because I had no idea what was going on. I got a bowl of powder. What? All right, okay, so you put a little bit of the broth in the powder, just a little bit, and then you mix it up. Now this is your dipping cup. It has a strong flavor from all the seasonings in the powder, and you're meant to dip your meat in it. Oh yeah, and like what meats do you want? Like, you want some vegetables? You like mushrooms? How about lettuce? People took turns coming up to me, showing me stuff like on their phone, like, want this? And I'd be like, yes or no, and then they'd bring stuff to my table. One guy in his 20s seemed to be like the closest to the designated English-speaking friend, but he only hung around for the first few minutes. Like I said, I don't know if he worked there or if he was just like friends with somebody, maybe a delivery guy, but he spent those first few minutes giving me a basic rundown on how to eat the meal. It gave me about a dozen little bowls, and the idea is like you take some broth, try it alone, get the idea, like what is the base flavor of the broth you're gonna be eating here. Now, add a little bit of this green stuff. Now you try that. Okay, different bowl. Now this paste, you're gonna add some broth to that. You're gonna taste that. Different bowl, add some meat. Now add this, mix that, bada bing, bada blah, blah. Throw in that big green garlic, add a mushroom to the boiling cauldron. Here's the raw meat, throw that in. Dip that stuff in the powder bowl from earlier, and like no fewer than 6 different people, some obviously workers, some just regular patrons, came by to give me advice or new ingredients to try. It's hard to describe since it's a feeling you gotta be there to pick up on, but Chinese people just seem to want to show you China. Show you the food, show you the architecture, the music, and not in like a show-off pompous way, but in just a genuine spirit of sharing. They're proud of what they have, and they want you to check it out. I wish I could properly express to those people how much I appreciated their hospitality and patience. This is one of the best parts of my trip. It did have an awkward conclusion, as now was when my credit card decided to like set off a fraud alert and a lock on me. Are you in China? Yes. I've completed hundreds of transactions at this point, but I had a different card that I used and everything worked out fine. It just sucked because I was ready to be like, thank you so much, bye, let's pay, salud, see you later, and then it's, oh, your card. She just like turns the thing around and it's like, error. Oh no, it didn't say error, it says declined. So it's like, oh my god, this moron is coming in trying to steal our hot pot. The day ended with a little bike ride along the center axis of the city, which takes you between the Forbidden City and Tiananmen Square. Due to the popularity of the tourist attractions and the fact that it's the nation's capital, traffic works differently here. Cars aren't allowed to turn for a few blocks, like certain places, and you can't go by the government buildings depending on which route, and it helps with traffic flow. And the bikes are not permitted to stop, like lest the street turn into a mob of people taking selfies with the buildings.
It is cool to see that I am not the only one filming myself doing this. Oh my goodness, sorry, there's gigantic, beautiful buildings all around me.
There are police and military vehicles all over the place, as you would expect. Remember, this is like the Washington, D.C. of China. It seems creepy at first. You're like, why is there like a tank there? And then you remember, no, I've been to D.C., freaking tanks everywhere. Just kind of, it's littered around. And occasionally, they'll pull out one of these retractable metal accordion fence gate things to stop bike traffic for a moment.
Keep your head on a swivel, but for the most part, you just keep what you're doing and other people will move. Like, you just keep your trajectory, keep it going. Go. All right, we're going. See, like this. There's bikes, there's cars, they kind of act just like pedestrians. They kind of like walk when they get... See, like, I really should have gone behind that car, but still. I made a move. I made a decision.
When you get to the front of the Forbidden City with the big picture of Mao and all that, there's an extra wide bike zone, and it is quite the atmosphere. Surrounded by tourists, mostly from other parts of China that want to see the sights. I love that the city facilitates this because it's a fantastic way to spend an evening. I want everyone to know that I was a very good boy and did not stop in the areas you're not supposed to stop in, unlike everyone else. And then whatever security guy would just kind of come on guys, you gotta go. They'd give you 5-6 seconds, but no, I just biked real slow. Look at me dangerously biking with one hand. The CPC Museum. All right, here's a non sequitur. In China, people chew with their mouths open. Everybody from schlubs snacking on the corner to well-dressed people in fancy restaurants, the lips be smacking. It's just a cultural difference, where in the West it can be seen as rude to chew loudly. In the East, it can be seen as complimentary to the restaurant, as in this food is so good, I cannot wait for it to cool off, I gotta eat it now. I've heard other people say that, no, if you, as you eat, you get air in that then increases the flavor, and you could, with wine, you want to aerate the food. I feel like this is a rationalization. It's not really there's a conscious decision being made either. It's not oh, this food is 8 out of 10, so I will chew at an 8 out of 10 loudness. It's just a difference in socialization. It's not better or worse. It's just different. That said, I absent-mindedly chew with my mouth open all the time, so it was nice that nobody cared. No one was oh, who's this rude man? You're just talking, yeah, so we're gonna go over there. And also because not a conscious decision on my part, I just end up absent-mindedly chewing with my mouth open. I barely noticed that other people were doing it. I wrote it down, so I did notice at some point, but it doesn't bother me, huh? If you super hate open mouth chewers, you're gonna have to get over that while you're in China. Morning again. This is now the next day. We did the Olympic Park yesterday, new day. More hotel breakfast, and there was corn. The plan for today was to get up nice and early and visit Mao's tomb, which is in the Tiananmen Square complex. But I ran into a snag. You see, you need to digitally reserve a ticket to Tiananmen Square, to enter. The ticket is free, but the idea is they basically want a guest list, and you sign up ahead of time so they can know who's showing up. I get to the entrance and they ask, do you have a reservation? Well, they don't ask, do you have a reservation? They scan my thing and I keep walking, and then a couple seconds later, some lady comes, people they look at their thing and go, wait a second, and then they come over to me and say, and they get the English speaking person. They're like, oh, where's Cindy? She speaks English. Do you have a reservation? And I'm like, no. And I asked if could I make a reservation today? But I don't think she really knew what I was said, but she's kind of sadly just no, you can't. So I get out of line, I get on my phone, and I'm messing around. I'm trying to book a reservation. Maybe I can go tomorrow, figure something out. But the Chinese phone number that came with my SIM card, it didn't seem to work. Because when you're signing up for anything, they want name, passport number, phone number. And if you do an American one, it's just we don't even recognize this as a phone. That's supposed to be one of the advantages of picking up a Chinese SIM card before you go, so you can use the Chinese phone number and get around any kind of regional barriers. Every time I got to that step, it would just be this isn't a phone number. And I'm it is. I've received calls on it. This definitely is a functioning SIM card. What the heck? I signed up for this app with it. Why isn't it? And you might be saying to yourself, Pepper, you just showed us pictures from inside of Tiananmen Square, and maybe now I'm thinking about it, maybe that's why that guy came up and asked for my passport, because I think they let me in when they weren't supposed to. I think I just kind of rolled through the line, and the system might have been no reservation, and the guy just zoned out and just boop, next. And then maybe I'm on they're on the security cameras, wait a second, who is this man? He doesn't match any of the faces that are supposed to be here. I don't know if they're face scanning you that. I don't know if the technology is that sophisticated. I'm the only person that looks how I do. I'm the only red-bearded, red-haired 6'6" man. So it probably wasn't too hard to put 2 and 2 together. They're where's the American guy's passport? And we don't have any American passports on record. Go ask that guy what the heck's going on. I was genuinely bummed out at not being able to see Mao's tomb, but we press on. I got a bottle of tea and I gathered my strength. Booking reservations through Alipay/WeChat can be a challenge if you can't read Chinese, Some pages will translate, others won't. Sometimes your information will work just fine. Other times that exact same passport and name, phone number combo just won't work at all, and you get thrown error messages that you can't read, and you just want to get into the Museum of the Communist Party of China, so you look very sad, and you walk up to the ticket lady and try to explain. So they bring over their supervisor, and they can't speak English either, so you're pantomiming, showing them your phone's error messages saying "Dui bu qi," and they're checking your passport and waving you through the metal detectors, and there's some problem, but nobody knows how to tell you, and you think they're telling you to put on a COVID mask, but then the supervisor says, "No chewing gum," and you say, "Oh," and animatedly swallow your gum and open your mouth to the guy like you're in elementary school, and then you do get into the museum. Anyway, that's how I got into the Museum of the Communist Party of China. All right, I've retyped this section at least 5 times trying to figure out how to parse the politics of all this, and you know what? I'm not gonna. We're just gonna talk about the museum, look at some exhibits, and move on with our lives. Nobody's gonna defeat the Chinese Revolution in the comment section, and my opinion as a powerless internet music man doesn't actually matter. Outside the entrance are some amazing sculptures. Look at all these Chads. Even the kids are Chads. Look at this jacked architect. This place is gorgeous. It just opened in 2021 in time for the 100-year anniversary of the founding of the CPC. Remember 1921? From earlier in the video. And every surface sparkles. Marble stairs, velvet ropes, literal red carpet rolled out. Very impressive. The museum is laid out chronologically, starting before the formation of the party and ending with a look toward the future. You start on the bottom floor and work your way up through the years. Almost none of the signs are in English, but I was getting pretty good with Baidu Translate at this point, and all I needed to do was point my phone at the text. I was a little worried that photography wasn't allowed, but it was fine. I kept looking for the little picture of like the camera with the circle slash through it, but no, nothing. And then I'd kind of tentatively, like near staff, I had my phone. I'm just kind of looking at them. Just, okay, take pictures. The exhibitions on the lower floors really get across just how undeveloped China was 100 years ago. Like just 100 years ago. I mean, think of America 100 years ago. Yeah, we didn't have quite the stuff we have now, but in 1925, we had something going on. We're industrially developing pretty rapidly. These people in China, they were living in stick huts without access to antibiotics in most cases. Like, it's not shocking that Mao's revolution took off among the peasantry. They were teaching people how to read, helping grow food, solving real problems, and that won over a ton of people. It won over enough people to build a coordinated resistance to the Japanese aggression in the 30s. Historical comparisons are always questionable since every area and group of people has a unique history and material conditions, but think about the American founding fathers and the revolution against the British. Nothing unites people like fighting off an oppressor, and the CPC and rival KMT worked together to force out Japan, which... good! That was pretty dope. To quote one of the museum's placards, this marked the first time in modern Chinese history that the Chinese people had won a complete victory against foreign aggressors in the War of National Liberation, and was an important part of our global war against fascism. Remember who Japan allied with? Yeah, it's weird. In the popular consciousness, everyone's like, Germany, Nazis. And it's like, boom, they're right. Like, they almost not go hand in hand. Obviously, things are different now in Germany, but no one's like, Japan, fascism. Like, that's what was Japan should take the islands. After the Japanese were defeated, the KMT and CPC, they stopped working together. Eventually, the KMT retreated to the island of Taiwan, where they remain the most powerful political party to this day. As you move upstairs, you start seeing artifacts of the early days of the People's Republic of China. We got Mao's suit, the microphones he used, the original flag, give me like Betsy Ross vibes, a transcription of the national anthem, all kinds of stuff. This tractor, man, tractor, tank, tankter, trank. China had a massive task ahead of it where they needed to rapidly industrialize, yet, since they recently underwent a communist revolution, Western countries weren't exactly chomping at the bit to establish normal relations with them. It's remarkable that it only took a century for this to become this.
The introduction of this intelligent seedling raising system has significantly reduced the breeding period for approximately 660 hectares of rice seedlings from 2 months to just 20 days. This has resulted in a 30% reduction in overall costs and has remarkably enhanced both efficiency and the quality of rice production.
There was a huge emphasis on economics in this museum, and effort is put to connect the economic development of China with the higher standard of living provided by that development. I live in the richest country in the world. I live in the richest country in the history of the world, actually, and over 200 years, like, I still don't have useful public transit. I still don't have, like, the ability to cheaply visit a doctor. Like, I'm told this is the cost of freedom by museums here in the United States. While the Museum of the Communist Party of China is absolutely patriotic and is a celebration of the party and its accomplishments, the exhibits contain criticism of past mistakes. The museum signage refers to the disaster of the Cultural Revolution. They call it a disaster. Rather than paper over the bad times or pretend that they were actually good, the museum says the CPC can correct its mistakes. Mistakes. The ability to be critical and evaluate the effects of decisions and move forward based on facts and figures rather than pure vibes, is considered a strength of the party. And hey, that's kind of a refreshing viewpoint. As a citizen of a country that has done great good and great evil through its history, I can appreciate a dialectical viewpoint. The photos start being less in black and white and more in color. I'm starting to see some US presidents I recognize. Looks like it's Deng Xiaoping time! Everybody I talked to in China had some criticism for Xi Jinping and various other political leaders, but Deng seems to be almost universally beloved. The closest analog I can think of is how Americans feel about FDR. Deng Xiaoping oversaw the opening up of China's economy to the rest of the world. He worked with Richard Nixon, of all people, to relax US-China relations and started the process of establishing normal trade relations between our two countries. China started having access to American consumer goods and started making stuff for American companies. The Made in China era was gaining steam. And through these clever business deals, China's ability to manufacture stuff started going nuts. The Chinese economy friggin' exploded. Look at this chart. There's a saying that goes, under Mao, China stood up. Under Deng, China grew rich. Under Xi, China grew strong. And baby, to get rich is glorious. The clever part is Deng didn't just throw open the doors and say, all right, capitalist raiders, go frickin' nuts in here, do whatever you want. No, if you want to make cars in China, fine, good, but you must also teach us how to make cars. If you wanted to make computer chips in China, fine, good, but you must also teach us how to make computer chips. This is commonly perceived in the West as IP theft. Those darn sneaky Chinese tricked us into making our stuff over here, and now they know how to make our stuff. Don't they know that Henry Ford is the only person allowed to make cars? Ever? If China's making cars, they must have stolen the idea. Look, man, personally, I don't care. I want better, cheaper stuff. This fact that it's hey, everybody, you should all get electric cars. Also, all the cheapest and best electric cars are made in China, and we're going to charge a 100% tariff on them to make them more expensive than American electric cars, so fewer people buy electric cars. How am I supposed to take you seriously on this? I want a How Mao. Put up a picture of the cat car. It's freaking adorable. I don't know if I would fit in it, but it's cute. The rest of the museum marches through the years, and I won't bore you with every exhibit, but here are some highlights. Temple University Doctorate for Deng Xiaoping, along with red, white, and blue cowboy hat. The cars that Chinese heads of state rode in for national parades. At some point, they just settled on this design and stopped messing with it. I don't hate it. The bluntness of the headings of the sections, ushering in a new era of socialism with Chinese characteristics, securing historic achievements, and effecting historic changes in the cause of the party and the country. That's one title. Animal heads. This video clip stuck with me. They show clips of guys locking arms, wading into rushing water, and pulling people out of a flood. Flooding is a big issue in China, or at least it has been historically. They're kind of getting it under control now. But what better way to win people over than to go help out with it? Communists putting their bodies on the line to help out their community. That's the whole point, right? And yeah, I get it. Propaganda. If you were getting flooded and your mayor or city councilman freaking pulled your truck out of the mud or whatever, you'd probably like them. In general, I hate to keep using this word, but I'm addicted now. I can't stop. The general vibe in the USA is that our institutions are not responsive to the needs of the people. Thus, the US Gov's approval rating hovers between 20 and 40%, while at least 75% of Chinese people seem to approve of their government. It's a totally different way of thinking about your relationship to power. As more than one of my new Chinese friends told me, when something goes wrong, the first instinct is to call the government, to ask what is the government going to do about this? Why hasn't the government taken care of this? And in general, the response seems to satisfy the public, at least at a higher rate than in the US, according to the admittedly sloppy polling metrics available to me. Speaking of metrics, this is the end of the Commie Museum section, so bear with me for just a few more minutes. The party is very keen on mentioning the numbers, the stats. One of the last exhibits is this hall of plaques showing the change over time in things like literacy rate, disposable income, life expectancy, etc. It'd be awesome to see something like this in the US's propaganda, but yeah. There's a reason American politicians will talk about the overall growth of the economy all day, but rarely bring up our declining life expectancy, literacy rate, increasing hunger and homelessness. Finance capital witchcraft doesn't actually translate into elevated standard of living for anybody but the bankers and their accomplices. Alamabiz. The economy isn't actually good for most working Americans, and all that line go up finance capital witchcraft doesn't actually translate into an elevating standard of living for anyone but the bankers and their accomplices. We don't have to copy China. In fact, that would be a really bad idea, but like if we don't shake off the rule of finance capital and start reindustrializing the United States, like if Americans don't take control of the direction of production and start doing things that make sense and like make it financially possible to exist here without dying at the age of 60 from stress and high cholesterol, the United States will simply fade into the background as more and more scientific advancement comes from countries like China, and they're living to age 95, retiring at 55, and spending a few decades playing saxophone and dancing around in the park. Wouldn't you like to do that? Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't it be nice if I retired before the age of 85? I don't care about all this weird moralist nonsense or fighting about Winnie the Pooh or whatever. I want to see a doctor for a reasonable price. I want to work somewhere where my labor goes towards something that matters. And I want to know that if things get hard, I'm not likely to end up sleeping on the street. I don't care what ism you call it. I want to exit clown world where nothing ever changes and move towards reality. Very cool sculpture wall thing at the end. Look at this. I give this museum 4 hammers and 3 sickles, all power to the proletariat. Honey on pizza, and is that freaking mayonnaise? Them all! Alright, you made it through my last rant of the video. It's all downhill from here. There's gonna be a funny song at the end. Why are there so many Tim Hortons? Like, there's so many Tim Hortons. This is what the Chinese palate desires, Timothy Hortons. we need a Canadian version of Dunkin' Donuts. Because I don't remember seeing Dunkin' Donuts. So it's like, is Timmy's just like really getting in on the ground floor here? Like, there was one, does it still exist? I mean, look, does the Timmy Hortons in Arizona still exist? It was in the hockey stadium for the team that doesn't exist anymore. Yep, they closed it down. There is no longer a Timmy Hortons. Oh, it's called Desert Diamond Arena? Oh, it's one of the casinos. See, Desert Diamond would be a cool name for an arena, but it's named after a casino called Desert Diamond, and I don't know. If your arena name just changes every once in a while. Like as goofy as like the National Outdoor Stadium, like as like weirdly sterile as that kind of seems, because they call it the Bird Nest anyway, which is more fun. Like as sterile as that is, isn't that better than freaking McDonald's Arena or freaking Chucklefuck headquarters? Like, can't we State Farm Arena? Like, I hate that. Ugh. Chase Field. Even if it's named after just a guy, that's something, I guess. What's the Detroit one? I don't know, Ford Field or something. Where's Joe Sims? Joe Sims Arena? I like that. Joe Sims Arena? Am I making that up? Joe Louis. What is this? Black Joe Louis Booty City from Nardo's Pizza. This is real. According to Joe, this pizza is slamming. Oh my God, I need to make it my life's mission to see Black Joe Louis to eat Black Joe Louis Booty City Pizza. Is it called Black Joe Louis because Joe Louis was an African American, or is the pizza itself like blackened? I'm taking a screenshot because people aren't going to believe this is real. They're like, Pepper, you're being weird. It's like, no, this is I swear to God. I'll put my hand on a stack of Bibles. Okay, I've never heard of Nardo's Pizza. This is kind of fun though. Look at these names. Red Top, aka Detroit style pizza. We got the What Up Dough. The D. Meat Wad, B1000, Vanilla. I enjoy these. The Hamburglar, that's cute. I got my. I learned this in China. I did a tiny bit more research, and it turns out Black Joe Louis and the Honey Bears is a band. So Black Joe Louis is not the boxer. Like here's a clip of that band right now. See how much I can play before I get copyright striked. And they have a song called Booty City. All right, we got it now. It's all come together, man. All right, where's he from? Born in Tucson, Arizona. Whoa, what a small world, man. You just start looking at stuff and everything's all connected. All right, they're from Austin, I guess. This band has as many past members as members. All right, what the hell was I talking about? Oh, yeah, China. I got food at a nearby mall. Hung out at an arcade where I played way too much Taiko Drum Master. I could probably look this up, but are Chinese crane games easier? Like, I tried 3 or 4 times and I could win whatever I wanted if I just gave it a handful of attempts.
It's definitely a new kind of claw machine for me. We got those tiny little hooks and got a bunch of little Pepsis, and it doesn't seem to matter where you put it. You get nothing. It just limply falls down the hooks, and then I'm a moron. Of course I would win. I'm the best. Because people are winning at these crane games so much more frequently, you have attendants just kind of hanging out and waiting for people to win. So they go over, unlock the thing, give you your prize that you won. Look, I got a duck gourd. I did not eat the sushi tacos, but I got a nice bowl. Most restaurants give you free hot tea the moment you sit down. And here I got a nice beef soup with cabbage and no noodles. Then there were some fried beef strips with powder dipping sauce. That's another oddity. Like, you don't see condiments on the table too often. There's no equivalent to the American combo of ketchup, mustard, salt, pepper, Tabasco in a rack here. See, here's my little pile of cumin. Oh, and this this is a rather than being a single serving of booze, it was like a pint of hard liquor. I thought I was getting a drink, and they brought me like I don't think they were judging me, but I was judging myself. I'm like, man, I look like a freaking alcoholic. And of course, it's Baijiu. Baijiu is good. It is quite intense, quite spicy. You could say, not spicy, very very alcoholic. It's I don't know. It's kind of like somewhere between it's not quite ever clear, like somewhere around vodka and tequila-y clear liquor. Let's discuss ordering food in China and how the 2 apps to rule them all, like the People's application, the style of Alipay and WeChat, actually make being a tourist easier. I could only ever get Alipay to work, but only once was that ever an issue. If they don't take Alipay, I can't eat there, basically. At first, I was approaching counters, looking at menus, trying to order like I would at home. But then I learned. You scan the QR code that'll inevitably either be on the counter or on a little card thing nearby, and then you start poking around Alipay. Usually, it'll bring up the store you're at right away. Tap, tap, and you're on your menu. Then you use the little translate button and you'll get a good enough translation and usually accompanying pictures that you can figure out what you're trying to eat here. Sometimes the translations are a little weird and they're always a little funny. But you order your duck excrement tea and move on. I had the extra step of asking an employee if what I ordered contained peanuts. Like, the hua sheng guo min. Yo mei yo hua sheng. Yo mei yo hua sheng. The magic words for happy life for me in China. Yeah, I'd show them my phone, give them my peanut card. They'd take a look at it, and a couple of times I got warnings about certain items. Helpful and nice. It's always a little nerve-wracking to get fried food, because that's usually how I get, nutted. Surprise, this fried egg roll used oil with peanut butter mixed in. But I was good the entire trip. Completely worked out. 0 peanut incidents. Once you've confirmed what items might have nuts, you hit order, you get a number on your phone screen, and you wait for your coffee or whatever to come out. If you're at a sit-down place, there will be table numbers and they'll bring your food right to you. Plus, they'll be bringing you tea and stuff anyway. It was fun, convenient, and since most of my tourism is based around food, it made my trip friggin' great. I rode around on a bike until I found Great Leap Brewing, and oh boy, was I right back in America for a couple hours. Look at this and tell me any of it would be out of place in frickin' Portland. I got a rare English language print menu, and some of the beers were funny. Excuse me while I kiss this guy. I saw some more foreign tourists, including a group of Africans. One of them asked me, in English, can I see that menu, then turned to his friends, spoke to them in French, before turning to the bartender and ordering in Chinese. I love traveling. Peking duck was going to be dinner, and there was because that's like the Beijing specialty. They're known for their Peking duck, and there was a mid-level fancy place nearby. I finally had real Szechuan peppers also. I've heard for years about the, quote, numbing sensation from these chilies, and I would nod along like, yeah, they're spicy, it's a little tingly, spicy, makes my lips tingle, but no.
I took some big old bites of these beans and my eyes were opened. I could not feel my lips or tongue for like a minute or so, and it kind of felt like they're vibrating. And my tongue's getting the same thing. Like, it's trippy is how I would describe it. Worth trying, but I don't know how often I'd be eating this. It's pretty effing spicy, and then your mouth feels weird. Everybody was real friendly in this place. Maybe I'm just jaded from living where I do, and nobody talks to each other. First, I chatted with the guy from Nepal to my left. Then, when I was pretty much done eating this sparkling golden duck fat literally dipped in sugar, I got invited to these guys' table. They spoke quite a bit of English and told me they were various kinds of doctors, including a dentist and I think an anesthetician, and everybody was drinking. At some point, I ended up singing like 2 bars of the International, and everybody clapped, which was embarrassing. I wasn't standing up and screaming it. It comes up like, "What do you do for work?" And I'm like, "I'm a musician." They're like, "Sing, you have to sing." I don't know if we were the most obnoxious table or not, but at least we bought a bunch of stuff. Quite an end to my time in Beijing. Who knew it was a party town? I didn't put this in the script. I don't want to get anybody in trouble because nothing came of it. This didn't like end poorly, but the guy who spoke the most English, at first I thought that wait staff was coming over. They came over and they you could tell it was a tone of like, "You need to not this," or "Please don't that." And I thought it was because I sang for a second and there's like, "You gotta shut up over here." I thought it was, they're saying we're being too loud, but no, it's because the dude sparked up a cigarette and you can't smoke there. And you can smoke I don't know about can smoke, but everybody just kind of smokes everywhere in China. And as I read and hear, they're currently in the process of implementing America style no smoking indoors, go outside to the designated smoking areas like style rules in, first in the big cities, and then it'll spread around kind of like here in the US. But that's new. So, most people are just used to smoking everywhere. And this guy was straight up offended that they did not want him to smoke in the restaurant. And me and his 2 friends were like, "Dude, chill, just relax. It's okay. Shh, just don't stop. You're going to get us kicked out, man." I said, "You're going to get me deported" at some point, which made him laugh. Part 5, Return to Shanghai. After more sleep and a hotel breakfast so quick I didn't even take a picture, it was time for the slow train home. I don't know when the next time I'll have the chance to take a sleeper car train, but I'm glad I took the opportunity. Train prices are set up logically in China, with the more convenient and fast trains being the most expensive. The ride, it was like something like 17 hours back to Shanghai, mostly because there was a stop every hour or so they're constantly like slowing down, speeding up. But it was $35 compared to the $85 for the bullet train. Overall, this train was older and far less fancy, but I kind of liked it. I was in the soft sleeper car on a train that also offered a soft seat, hard sleeper, soft sleeper deluxe, business class, and so on. So I had like the 3rd cheapest ticket. I think getting just a chair for the 17 hours was like $15. My soft sleeper car had 4 beds, 2 on each side. You gotta be okay hanging out with strangers, but everyone gets enough space. It doesn't feel cramped or anything. You lay down on your bed, maybe look out the window a bit, read a book, play around on your phone, write in your journal, wander the train. It's a chill time.
旅途中，您有什么需求，可随时与列车工作人员联系。为了保证列车和您的安全，请不要携带危险品上车。车厢内禁止吸烟。吸烟的旅客，请到车厢两端吸烟处。烟头请熄灭后放入烟雾。
I had more food, and this time with an egg. The dining car staff was very kind to me. Like, you noticing a pattern here? They had a guy help translate who I think was just another passenger, but I'm not sure. The food was a lot cheaper on this train too. That meal was $2. The only thing that made sleeping a challenge on this trip was the stopping every hour or so. The train needed to slow down, and that rocks you around on the bed. The brakes are kind of screechy. I would do this trip again in a heartbeat, but it might not be for you if you're uncomfortable sharing a little room with strangers. Oh yeah, it has a door too, I forgot. It gets nice and dark, go to sleep. It was cool. Back to Shanghai and final hotel. Not quite as nice as my previous one, but still quite comfortable. I was having some bad allergies at this point in the journey, but I tried not to let it put a damper on things. I was now a little further out of the city, so my food options narrowed a bit. No train out here, but tons of buses. I went to this cafeteria-style place across the street, and this made it impossible to rely on my app. I just had to point at stuff for them to spoon out. I knew I'd like the beans and the braised pork, so I went for it. China's great. They just give you huge cubes of pork with an inch of fat on it. It's amazing. I got on one of the aforementioned buses and explored. I wanted to go see a movie, so I got on what else but Alipay and looked for a theater. Looked for a theater, a teatre. I got a ticket to Expendables 5, 6, whatever one they're on. It was the only movie showing in English. Hey, there were no ads before the movie. See? Communism's great. Halfway through this boring ass movie, it freezes. Like, the lights come on and an employee comes out to usher us to the theater. And when I say us, I mean me and the only other person in the theater. When the thing froze, I just heard him say, "Shit." That was pretty funny to me. The bus was nice. It was clean, fast, and it ran frequently. Still have large public parks. A little alarm went off a second ago after a big truck was honking their horn, and I realized, oh, that's the decibel meter. There will be straight up posted, and there'll be a screen that like has the number goes up and down live, so you don't get too rowdy in the park where it goes woo woo woo. Please be quiet in the park. I went back towards downtown and met up with Simone for a Japanese classic, pepper lunch.
They're here at Pepper Lunch. I already have a broken yogurt. A paper splash screen.
Here's some pretty buildings. A tiny little IKEA. Another one of those elevated pedestrian ring things so you can hang out and take photos and clear up this intersection for foot traffic. I love how the highways have flower boxes and colored lights. Makes you feel less like you're in the big concrete city. Pretty stuff everywhere. It's just generally pleasant to be in the city.
That's what visiting China is like in the big cities. You just like will randomly hear some stuff and go, oh, is that a fountain? And then, oh, of course, yes, it's a light and music show with water in front of the museum. One of the million museums.
More ice cream from the convenience store by my hotel. At this point, I had one more full day in China, and I spent it doing my favorite thing. Biking around, looking at stuff, and eating. What a lovely bathroom I found.
One of the things I heard about China was that they had very few public bathrooms, that they'd be like horrific. So I'm just like by the park. You would expect, oh, this is gonna be like Porta-John quality. Let's see what we got here. Oh my goodness. This is about as nice as mine. It's tile. They have a tile bathroom, sink, urinal. Okay, I can use that, but I'm not gonna be.
Got more food. I got taro ice. I love taro. Raw cheese latte. It was good. Five Guys burger and fries. More cool buildings. Luckin Coffee, which is the Chinese like Starbucks at a quarter of the price. Despite this, Shanghai has one of the most intense concentrations of Starbucks in the world. Like literally 1,000 Starbucks locations in Shanghai alone. Back to big old tourist zone, the Bund from earlier. Vespas. Look at this stadium.
It's my last night in Shanghai, and wouldn't you know it, as I'm biking around, guess who's got an RGB stadium, baby? Like, they can take what would be gross looking concrete, stick some freaking LEDs on it, and it's beautiful. Like the highways, you don't feel like you're biking under 50,000 overpasses, even though you are. And I agree with the elevated streets, thank goodness. Like, freaking without car infrastructure, this was just grind to a halt. But like, look, it's so nice. Everything looks nice. Yeah, I'm in the city center.
In a quarter mile at the traffic light, take a right on Shongshan South 2nd Road.
Yeah, I gotta do that now. All right, bye everybody.
Final hangout and another style of hot pot. Look, in this one, everybody gets their own little pot and the heating element that you can control. There's tons of meat. I'm really gonna miss these guys. It felt like the entire country of China was conspiring to make me have a good time. I cannot stress enough how normal it is there. It didn't feel like I was being followed around by Big Brother the whole time. Never felt like I was unsafe, like I was walking around at 2 a.m. without fear downtown. I hung out in parks alone with almost zero ability to verbally communicate, yet I was able to see, hear, and eat things I never thought I would experience. Go to China. It's really fun. Final part, journey back to the West by going east. So now I gotta get back to Singapore to catch my flight to Freedom Land. I head to the airport on the hotel shuttle that was the reason I booked this particular hotel in the first place. Then I ran into my favorite international airport problem. The check-in gate doesn't exist until 3 hours before your flight, so I sat around for a couple hours till they set up the United desk and took my bags. Now it's one flight to Bangkok, Now it's one flight to Bangkok, and I can add Thailand to my list of countries entered. My connection was 12 hours later, so I booked a hotel room for it. No joke, the hotel cost $9 American with all fees included. That was something. Thailand is a cash-heavy country, so I had to play the always fun game of how much money do I get out of the ATM? Get too little and risk being stranded somewhere with no money. Get too much and risk being stuck with a bunch of currency you can't use and then an evil exchange rate and bank fees back home. I got out 1,000 Thai baht, or about $35 US, and got in a cab. Traveler tip: get the name and address of your hotel in the local language and screenshot it so you can access it on your phone without having phone signal. Having that address in Thai script made this very easy. I showed the cab driver my phone, and 10 minutes and $8 later, I was at the hotel, which did exist. You book these things, and it's like, man, I really hope that I don't just show up and it's an empty grass lot and I'm screwed. One of my shadier bookings through the hotels.com, but hey, there was a bed and there was air conditioning. I got some 7-Eleven food for dinner and passed out. 4:45 a.m. wake up and back to the Bangkok airport to fly to Singapore. Miserably early, but cool statues. Back in Singapore for a day. Had a crazy bus ride to town. Comically small hotel. Showered directly over toilet. This is kind of common in Asia, the wet room style bathroom, where everything gets wet. Is this McDonald's ad racist? And if so, to whom? Toys R Us still exists here. Fancy restaurant time. One of my Singaporean friends, Pear, is a chef and works in a really effing nice restaurant called Panamericana. And I was eager to try Mexican and South American style food through a Singaporean lens. It was the last hurrah before I left Asia, and I was floored by the quality. Easily in the top 5 meals I've ever eaten. The bread was bussin'. Look at that cheese. Olive oil everywhere. Tacos with frickin' Wagyu. Fried stuff. Mushroom mountain, steak that kicked my ass, more fat, mega shrimp, all of these delicious items. Then there was desserts on top of all that. Most interesting thing was a simple glass of vanilla ice cream with salt and olive oil. Bam, amazingly good. Very sad to leave, but by now I miss home. I'm off to Changi Airport where I made my own laksa and almost got into a fight with an Australian wife guy. After a good 15 hours of flying to California and another couple hours flying to Phoenix, I was home. Done. Oh my god, this script is 19,000 words. Holy crap. Why? We got mooncakes. Well, that was my trip to China. What do you think? What do you want to know that I left out? What did I possibly leave out in this freaking massive novella-length script I wrote here? Hey, you want to hear a Weezer parody? Let's hit it. I hope you guys like Weezer.
They got a really fast train. Massage to help with your pain. They got frequent rain. Fall and summer too. Waiting there for me. Yes, they do. They do. They got some fresh fish. They got places you can kiss. They got a big freeway. And my biggest wish, high-speed trains for cheap. Yes, they do. They do. In Shanghai, I feel safe. No one cares about my ways. In Shanghai, where I can't talk, let's go for a lovely walk. In Shanghai. Got me a tiny guitar. Play my stupid show. Meet these Chinese furries, and I love everyone. Waiting there for me, yes I do. I do. In Shanghai, I feel safe.
Check, I'm back on a different camera because my cable's giving me problems and I must complete this video. It has to end. We've had enough, everybody. It's been 3 hours, so I'm gonna not even make any more jokes. Thank you very much to everybody who supports me on Patreon. Patreon is a big chunk of my monthly bills, and if you liked this, please give me $1. I'm a great $1 patron. I don't do anything that flashy, but I put out some music and stuff sometimes. I'm a great $1 in the hat type of Patreon account. Okay. In reverse money order, so starting with my most generous patrons and working backwards, we got a Very Berry Bear, or Owen, or Chris. I know you. Okay. We got Bryant, H3, or Hentiophiliac. We got Ian T. Gray. I miss you. Lake LaBarge, Matthew B. Motley, Omega Lacona, Ruth, Beaton, Fancy Fox, Glasson. Got Crystal Mackenzie, Krista Mackenzie, not Crystal. I knew somebody named Crystal with a K once, so that's where my mind goes when I see those first few letters. Master 308K, Michael Jadal, Mama T, Skuro, Tim Coffee, Whoopee, Beth Fries, Bossasar, Draggle, Gavin Von Blackmuzzle, Green Drag, Hollid, Kizan, Kizan? I'm gonna go with Kazan because it doesn't look like Kazam, but Coda Masters, Kyle Fox, Laptev Tashet, Mel Schlemming, Nathan, Nkri Omoy. Okay, I feel like that was intentional to mess me up. Petrov Neutrino, which I'm used to by now. Randall Saber, R.A.V. Rav, Rhizot, Cyber Lupus, Cyber Lupus? Every time Soft Water, Sully, Wugbug, Alex the Fox Coon, Amethyst, or Flat Fangs, Angus Cause, Arfly, I've wondered, Arthur Tallis, Birdie the Scottish Griffin, Blackwing, or HD, Cactus Bat, Celavar, Cheetah Spotty Cat. Seamlessly go to the second page here. Cosmic, or Chris Levy, Cooper Flood, Cosmo Shep, Danji Draconid, Donji, I think, Draconid, Dark Doggo. That's how you get more airtime with me, is you go ahead and make yourself a name that I have a hard time pronouncing, and that's for you to figure out. Good. Epic, Flop, Foxamore, and we got Hachi Shibaru is back in my Patreon. I'm glad to see you back in the credits. I know I only make a video every few years, but Haiku, Indig Zero, Elite, Margaret Bumby, Nyrox. Oh, and it's not Nyrox, it's Nyox. Nyox. I'm going with Nyox, and can't stop. I know this person, like I see the icon, I'm like, I know them as a human being. I can't read. Paul, Phil Maddox, Razor Barabal, Rhythm Bastard, Rick Whitechest, Rin LeFox, Sean Page, Shiro 14, Shirai, Shugnussi, SKG Rue. Oh boy, see this one's where I'm like, is it Stale Holton or do Stale Holton? Swiftpaw, Tau Switchblade, The Lonely Shep, Trevor Riles, Tuca, Tyler Furlong, Werewolf Detective Paw, William Blackwell, Xavier Wolf, Yaraku, Zachary Levely, come on, man, and Paul or Chiron, Chiron. Yeah. Thank you very much for watching this very long video. I'm gonna do music next. I can write music again because I finished this.